my own space station. Greetings, fellow multiversal adventurers. It's an honor to have you back in this saga that has us all hooked. Official channel statement: this story is 100% epic fiction, so please don't attempt real magic. The results aren't guaranteed and insurance won't cover it. The rights to this masterpiece belong entirely to its brilliant original author. We are just a barge sharing it with you. Do you want to keep being part of this amazing community? Join our ninja army of subscribers on YouTube and give this content a like. And for true fans, our Patreon has exclusive ninjutsu waiting for you. Chapter 476, Changes in Situation. From this, it seems that vibration crystals can indeed absorb light energy and store it. But the problem is that the charging process is too long, and it cannot be achieved with current technology. Moreover, how to use this vibration crystal is also a problem. Now that it is freezing cold, the scorpions in the Lhasa area have disappeared without a trace, and the defending soldiers can breathe a sigh of relief. The huge building in Gear County is also silent, as if it has stopped working. The Orc-Hungarian Federation also has no movement at all. Only Zhang Zhanghaozi's fleet is still harvesting zombies on the American continent, but due to the nearly 2-meter thick snow cover, the harvesting progress is very slow. The Maya United Empire has not taken any action, but Zhang Zhanghaozi is still on guard at all times now. The territory of the Great Sun Kingdom is also a world of ice and snow. Because no underground survival base has been established, civilians who have frozen to death account for 80 or 90% of the total population. If this continues, I am afraid that the entire Great Sun Kingdom will be destroyed. The situation in Korea is even worse. Originally, their location was relatively far north, and now the temperature has reached about -20 degrees, and it is still decreasing. Without food and unable to keep warm, they face only death in response. Pushin Xiaolin as he asked Dongfang Chen for help. Dongfang Chen's reply was, "You should find a way to solve the problems of your own people." There is no way to go. Pushin Xiaolin as he can only order the migration to Southeast Asia and other regions. Most of those areas are located in the equator and south of the equator, and the current temperature is relatively suitable. The several underground survival bases of the Aris Kingdom were finally completed under Validov's day and night anticipation. Among these 5 survival bases, although 4 are in occupied areas, there are no troops stationed there. Validov took advantage of this gap to quickly transfer the survivors. Now, the total number of survivors in the entire country is only about 800,000, and more than half of them are soldiers. Therefore, the difficulty of the transfer is not great. Originally, Validov was a little worried, but after seeing the base's super defensive firepower, he was finally relieved a lot. Now the conscription work in the Ulan neutral zone has ended. The people are very cooperative, vying to let their children join the army. Dongfang Chen has created a large underground military base in Ulan Gumu in the western mountains to train these new recruits. The space station's ring cabin has been built for 14 months, and it will be completely completed in another half a year. The construction of underground survival bases within the territory of China has been basically completed, which means that the tasks released by the space station have basically been completed. It also means that the Firefly project has been completed ahead of schedule. After the Firefly project is completed, the mission of the Lurker will also end. The situation in China is basically stable. The attitude of the parliament towards the Huituang Chamber of Commerce has also changed from guarding against cooperation, and everything seems to be very smooth in this case. The meaning of the Lurker's existence is not very great. Dongfang Chen is considering whether to recall them, but for some reason, Dongfang Chen always feels that there is a sense of crisis lurking beneath the calm surface. This unease made him postpone this decision. Sure enough, not long after, something happened in China. November 3, 2056 AD. Dongzhou Province, Qingzhou City, Southeast Military Region Jurisdiction Qijingshan. The person in charge of the Huituang Chamber of Commerce branch in the Huangai Mountain Survival Base was detained. Workers from the Chamber of Commerce branch and the Mercenary Guild branch had a fierce conflict with the official security team, resulting in 36 security team members being injured. The cause of the incident was that the base command received a real name report accusing Qijingshan, the person in charge of the Huituang Chamber of Commerce branch, of using his position to rape 2 young women. The branch staff raised objections to this, and a verbal dispute occurred during the negotiation process, which eventually turned into physical conflict subsequently. After receiving the news, the Huituang Chamber of Commerce headquarters negotiated with a local command staff. The results of the negotiation are as follows: 1. Remove Qijingshan from all Chamber of Commerce positions and issue a public apology through the media. 2. Compensate the victims and their families a total of 400,000 Chamber of Commerce points. 3. The new person in charge of the Chamber of Commerce branch must be nominated by the Huangai Mountain Survival Base Command, but the prerequisite is to pass the Chamber of Commerce's qualification training, especially the third article. There was a lot of disagreement at the beginning. The Chamber of Commerce representative's attitude was very firm. The person in charge of the branch is of great importance and cannot be nominated by the local command. However, the Ministry of Civil Affairs quickly issued a document requiring the Chamber of Commerce to fully consider the regional differences in different places when selecting and employing people. The meaning of this document is very clear. The staff of the Chamber of Commerce branch can only be selected from the local area. In the end, the Chamber of Commerce could only reluctantly agree and made an additional request that the candidates nominated by the base command must undergo internal training by the Chamber of Commerce. This incident was directly exposed by the official media, causing a huge sensation across the country. Chapter 477, The birds are gone, the good bows are hidden. Only a day had passed. On November 5th, multiple survival bases across the country simultaneously raised objections to the Huituang Chamber of Commerce, protesting the discriminatory treatment. The implication was that they also wanted to obtain nomination rights. At this point, Niu Xingwang had already realized that something was wrong. The Qi Jingshan rape case might not have been accidental but rather a premeditated frame-up. Mr. Dongfang, I believe this matter is too coincidental. The Qi Jingshan incident had just occurred when the local security team arrived. Furthermore, the attitude of the Civil Affairs Department clearly shows bias. I suspect someone is pulling strings behind the scenes, Niu Xingwang reported to Dongfang Chen. Then what do you think their main purpose is? Dongfang Chen asked. As the old saying goes, when the birds are gone, the good bow is stored away. I believe someone has planned this to reap the benefits, Niu Xingwang replied. What is your suggestion? Dongfang Chen asked. It depends on what you think, Mr. Dongfang. As long as you give the order, my life is yours, Niu Xingwang said implicitly, but his meaning was clear. Brother Niu, your thinking is dangerous. Don't say such things again in the future. Moreover, it's not yet determined whether this is a peach or a landmine. If they want to reap it, let them have it, Dongfang Chen said. Mr. Dongfang, are you saying that the crisis is not over yet? Niu Xingwang was taken aback. It's not that it's not over yet. I feel that the real crisis hasn't even arrived. This matter is not as simple as you think. Someone is waiting for us to make the wrong move. Dongfang Chen revealed his thoughts. Who exactly are you referring to? Niu Xingwang asked in surprise. I'm not sure. However, I know that their ultimate goal is not just to reap the benefits. It's even possible that we are not their final target, Dongfang Chen replied. I roughly understand. Niu Xingwang had already picked up on some unspoken meaning behind this matter. There might be a group of immortals fighting. Then what should we do next? Niu Xingwang continued to ask. Entangling with them will not only yield no results but will also get us into trouble. I think we should retreat as a form of advance, Dongfang Chen said. Wouldn't that be too cheap for them? We have put in so much to build these bases. Niu Xingwang was somewhat reluctant. The bases aren't going anywhere. What are you afraid of? Don't you know, the praying mantis stalks the cicada, unaware of the aureole behind? Dongfang Chen asked. I understand, Niu Xingwang sighed. Brother Niu, there's no need to be attached. You must know that staying out of it is the best way to protect yourself. Sometimes, being unwilling to let go often results in getting nothing in the end, Dongfang Chen comforted. Alright, I'll listen to you. Tell me, what should we do next? Niu Xingwang asked. Arrange for planes to transport all the family members from the main base to the Wulin base first, Dongfang Chen said. Okay, I'll take care of it right away, Niu Xingwang responded. Brother Niu, handle this personally. I'll arrange for Brother Dai to go back and cooperate with you, Dongfang Chen said. Understood, Niu Xingwang nodded. Due to special historical reasons, the personnel structure of the Huituang Chamber of Commerce headquarters was very complex. Most of the staff came from the recommendations of the original resettlement camps. So confidentiality was naturally very poor. It was impossible to tell who had problems and who didn't. Just as Niu Xingwang was arranging for the evacuation of family members, something else happened at the Huangaishan survival base. The people in the base staged a collective protest, believing that the Huituang Chamber of Commerce's commodity prices were too high and demanding lower prices. Many even raised anti-Chamber of Commerce slogans such as black-hearted capitalists and abusive market dominance. The order within the base was temporarily plunged into chaos in order to appease public anger. In the following week, the Finance Department took the lead, jointly with the Legal Department and the Civil Affairs Department. to conduct another investigation into the Huatuang Chamber of Commerce. The focus of this investigation was to conduct cost accounting for 65 commodities produced by the Huatuang Chamber of Commerce that were related to the national economy and the people's livelihood, in order to assess the relative value and sales profit margin of the commodities. Immediately following this, one wave subsided, and another rose. Someone reported that Hao Zhongxiang, the head of the Hanwang Underground Survival Base in Longnan City, Gansu Province, under the jurisdiction of the Northwest Military Region, had obtained the cooperation rights of the Chamber of Commerce branch in advance through improper means. The report revealed that Hao Zhongxiang had reached a number of preferential rights with the Huatuang Chamber of Commerce by selling state-owned assets at low prices, in a disguised form of selling the public interests of the people. Once the news broke, the Supervision Department urgently established an investigation team to go to Longnan City to investigate. Unfortunately, Hao Zhongxiang, the mayor of Longnan City, knowing that he had no face to face his fellow villagers, directly hanged himself before the investigation team arrived. Similar incidents were repeatedly staged throughout the country, and various negative news flew everywhere. People's perception of the Huatuang Chamber of Commerce took a sharp turn for the worse within a week due to the adverse effects of a series of events. Before the investigation team completed the accounting, the parliament requested Niu Xingwang to go to Kyoto immediately to report on his work. As mentioned earlier, Niu Xingwang is now a special advisor to the Civil Affairs Department, and it is a reasonable request to go to Kyoto to report on his work. Chapter 478 Interview. Kyoto, Parliament Building Interview Room, Chairman Niu. In the past week, we've received 32 reports from all over the country regarding the Chamber of Commerce engaging in power money transactions and power sex transactions. What are your thoughts on this? The investigator from the supervisory department sitting in the middle asked. Nonsense, Niu Xingwang replied. Chairman Niu, I hope you can adopt a proper attitude and cooperate with our work. The investigator said sternly. I am cooperating with your work, but I have the right to express my own views on some unfounded matters. Niu Xingwang said calmly. All right, let me ask you, do you know Qi Jingshan? The investigator asked, slightly displeased. I don't know him. Niu Xingwang shook his head. Qi Jingshan is the branch head of the Huanggaishan base. How could you not know him? The investigator questioned. Huatuang Construction has established no fewer than 300 underground bases, right? Each base has a person in charge. It's reasonable that I don't know him, Niu Xingwang said with a smile. Huanggaishan is the main base in Qingzhou, one of the first cooperative resettlement sites, and also one of the earliest resettlement sites to establish an underground base. I don't think it's possible that you don't know him, the investigator said. Comrade, I would like to remind you that conjecture is not factual evidence, Niu Xingwang said calmly, looking at him. Okay, Qi Jingshan is an employee of your Chamber of Commerce, that's a fact, right? The investigator asked, suppressing the anger in his heart. That's right, Niu Xingwang nodded. On November 2nd, at 11 p.m., he forcibly had sexual relations with 2 women. That's also a fact, right? The investigator said. I'm sorry, I'm not sure if that's a fact, Niu Xingwang denied. That night, several witnesses saw employees of the Chamber of Commerce forcibly taking 2 women into Qi Jingshan's residence. In addition to the victims' statements, we did indeed collect Qi Jingshan's semen from their bodies. With both witnesses and physical evidence, do you think you can deny it? The investigator's voice had risen considerably, with a hint of reprimand in his tone. Comrade, since Qi Jingshan's matter has been thoroughly investigated and a punishment decision has been made, I think this matter is over. I don't understand why you're bringing it up now. What's the point? Furthermore, even if Qi Jingshan is an employee of our Chamber of Commerce, he's just an employee. He has full and independent capacity for civil conduct. His personal life is not within the scope of the Chamber of Commerce's management. Even if he really has a problem, it's his personal problem. What does it have to do with the Chamber of Commerce? What does it have to do with me? Niu Xingwang retorted. Bang! The investigator finally lost control and slammed the table hard. The deputies and recorders sitting on both sides were startled. Niu Xingwang, you're too arrogant. Where did Qi Jingshan get the guts to act recklessly? Wasn't it given to him by your Huatuang Chamber of Commerce? As a senior manager of the Chamber of Commerce, openly doing such inhumane and insane things, as the person in charge of the Chamber of Commerce, don't you have a responsibility for negligence? The investigator stood there, pointing at Niu Xingwang and questioning loudly. You're clearly being unreasonable. I don't have X-ray vision. And none of the employees have good person or bad person written on their foreheads. The company's employment standard is to assess whether a person's comprehensive business skills can be competent for the job. As long as the ability is there, then naturally they can be hired. Indeed, Qi Jingshan, as an employee of the Chamber of Commerce, his behavior represents the image of the Chamber of Commerce. Therefore, after the incident occurred, we also responded as soon as possible and made a punishment according to the requirements of the Huangaishan headquarters. That's fine, isn't it? What's the problem with that? Niu Xingwang asked, spreading his hands. Of course there's a problem. The biggest problem is that your way of handling things is passive and negative. You haven't deeply realized the importance of strengthening the ideological and moral construction of employees. You haven't deeply realized the importance of preventing problems before they happen and nipping them in the bud, the investigator said. Why didn't you say so earlier? You mean you want me to set up a supervisory team within the Chamber of Commerce to strengthen the supervision and management of employees, right? No problem, I'll do it when I get back, okay? Niu Xingwang asked. It's not you who will build it, it's us. Someone from the supervisory department will contact you later, and I hope you can cooperate, the investigator said coldly, sitting back down, his anger not vented. You mean you're sending someone? Niu Xingwang asked to confirm. Yes, the investigator replied. Niu Xingwang nodded thoughtfully. He understood what Dongfang Chen meant by retreating to advance from the investigator's attitude. It can be seen that there must be something else behind this, and a lot of things behind these things. There may be one or even several promoters troubling the Chamber of Commerce. Doesn't seem to be about killing it with one blow, but about infiltrating it and placing more people. If he really entered the game and played chess with them, he didn't know how much effort it would take, and even if he won, he wouldn't get anything. A thankless task. It's better to listen to Dongfang Chen and not get involved. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means it was downloaded and re-uploaded without effort. We warmly invite you to visit our channel, Fanfic World. There you will find the original version of this story and many other novels of various genres. We look forward to seeing you dive into a world of incredible novels. Chapter 479. Not even a cup of tea. The joint investigation team from last time has already arranged for many people to come in, almost covering every Chamber of Commerce branch. Why are you sending people again this time? Niu Xingwang asked. Different functions, the investigator replied. What if I don't agree? Niu Xingwang asked. This isn't a negotiation, but a notification. Alright, Niu Xingwang said, spreading his hands helplessly. There's one more thing I need to confirm, the investigator said. Looking left and right, the deputy and the recorder beside him tactfully stood up and walked out. Please speak. Niu Xingwang knew from this situation that the following content was his main focus. According to the information we currently have, you already mastered the manufacturing technology of antigen serum last year. Why haven't you ever sold it? The investigator asked. I'm sorry, I don't know what you're talking about. Niu Xingwang denied he understood that this was the main reason he was being interviewed today. It doesn't matter if you don't admit it. Do you know Gong Kaiming? The investigator changed the subject. Mayor Guang? I know him. Niu Xingwang paused, then nodded. How did he die? The investigator asked, staring straight at him. I really don't know about that. After the Chamber of Commerce headquarters moved to Binjiang, we rarely met. I just heard that it seemed he was killed by his own city defense army because he was reckless and angered the public. I just heard it. I don't know if it's true. Niu Xingwang pretended to try hard to recall. This incident happened in September last year, more than a year ago at that time. The Chamber of Commerce was still in its initial stage, and the Merlin resettlement was always given special support as a model resettlement built by the Chamber of Commerce. When popularizing rat breeding technology, Gong Kaiming was very uncooperative, trying to raise the status of the resettlement by opposing it. To put it bluntly, he just knew that the Chamber of Commerce would definitely build up Merlin. So he was so fearless, so greedy. Niu Xingwang couldn't bear it and directly scolded him in person. Originally, Gong Kaiming admitted defeat and cooperated well, and this matter would have passed, but he courted death himself, secretly went to see Zhuo Wenshan at night, and left a letter of accusation. The letter revealed the existence of Dongfang Chen and the Binjiang base. At that time, the Xiaolin neutral zone had not yet been established. Once the Binjiang base was exposed, it would cause a lot of trouble, so Gong Kaiming had to die. It just so happened that Zumaya Shuang's wife had been chasing him for her husband, so he could just go along with the flow. So Niu Xingwang, on his own initiative, executed him on the grounds of killing Zumaya Shuang. Oh? Is that so? But the situation we learned from the field is not like this. The investigator showed a strange smile. What's it like then? Niu Xingwang asked. He felt a little nervous. There were many witnesses at the time, so it wouldn't be difficult to investigate. President Niu, I think you know best in your heart. You understand the meaning of dismissing them, right? The investigator looked like he had everything under control. The meaning was to tell him that this was a private conversation. As long as he cooperated, Guang Keiming's matter would be a small matter. I'm sorry, I don't quite understand. Niu Xingwang didn't buy it now that Dongfang Chen's identity has been made public. The Binjian base is no longer a secret. Even if he finds the clues, it will be useless. As for Guang Keiming's matter, he's even less afraid. The person is already dead, and he didn't do it himself, so what can he do? Niu Xingwang, let me advise you, don't play dumb here. We have already grasped conclusive evidence. Resisting the investigation will only increase the crime, the investigator threatened, gnashing his teeth, seeing that Niu Xingwang was impervious to reason. All right. Who are you trying to scare? I'll tell you clearly, Guang Keiming's matter has nothing to do with me. I also know your purpose, but you are not qualified to talk to me. Find someone in charge to come. Niu Xingwang didn't want to continue to entangle. You are willing to cooperate. The investigator didn't know if he understood correctly, and stood up to ask. I said, find someone in charge to come over. You are not worthy to talk to me. Niu Xingwang did not answer him directly. Okay. I advise you not to play tricks, the investigator warned, pointing at him. Then he hurriedly opened the door and left. Guard the door. Without my order, no one is allowed to enter, the investigator said to the guard outside the door. Yes. 10 minutes later, President Niu, long time no see. Sorry for the delay. A man in his 50s pushed the door open and said enthusiastically while speaking. He walked to Niu Xingwang in 3 steps and made 2 steps, and shook hands kindly. Counselor Jiao, what you said is right. Niu Xingwang smiled. He was saying that he was indeed neglected. Oh, please forgive me. Kyoto is not as good as Huituang Chamber of Commerce. The conditions are indeed a bit difficult. Jiao Zizhou, the director of the supervision department, was a little embarrassed, but immediately smoothed it over. What's going on? President Niu has been here for so long, and there isn't even a cup of tea. He scolded the investigator behind him. I'll go right away. The investigator nodded and admitted his mistake, and hurried to prepare. Get some good tea. Jiao Zizhou added. Yes, the investigator nodded quickly, opened the door and left. Chapter 480. Gold hits the heel. Chairman Niu, I apologize. Young people are not steady. They act without restraint. I hope you'll excuse us. Please, have a seat. Jiao Zizhou gestured for him to sit. Niu Xingwang didn't sit. Hey. Look at these youngsters, always engaging in superficial things. Jiao Zizhou smiled as he gathered the documents on the interrogation table and tossed them into the corner. Then, he pulled the table closer to Niu Xingwang and dragged a chair over, sitting to Niu Xingwang's left. This arrangement eliminated the sense of interrogation. Chairman Niu, please, sit. The conditions are a bit simple. Please forgive us. Jiao Zizhou apologized again. Counselor Jiao, you're too kind. I think this is quite good. Niu Xingwang laughed heartily and sat down. Ha. Chairman Niu, after we finish discussing business, don't rush off. I've prepared some simple wine. Let's have a couple of drinks together, Jiao Zizhou said, trying to further build their rapport as Niu Xingwang sat down. Then I shall accept your kind invitation. Niu Xingwang readily agreed. Good. Then shall we begin? Jiao Zizhou asked tentatively. Begin. Niu Xingwang nodded. Chairman Niu, recently, the Chamber of Commerce has been experiencing frequent incidents, and the Council has been expressing many different opinions, Jiao Zizhou said. Counselor Jiao, since its establishment, the Huituang Chamber of Commerce has done so much practical work. You've seen that, haven't you? Niu Xingwang seemed somewhat aggrieved. That's true. Jiao Zizhou nodded affirmatively. Tell me, how can an enterprise that does practical things for the common people be met with so much resistance? Niu Xingwang retorted. Chairman Niu, don't get so worked up. Wouldn't it be better to solve the problems we have? Don't you think? Jiao Zizhou soothed. Counselor Jiao, let me tell you this. I definitely trust the employees of the Chamber of Commerce. They would never do anything illegal or undisciplined. Do you believe that? Niu Xingwang countered. Oh, well, I naturally believe it. Jiao Zizhou was cornered and could only agree. See? I knew it. Counselor Jiao is definitely a reasonable person. Anyone with eyes can see that someone must be stirring up trouble in the middle, don't you think? Niu Xingwang continued to press up. This, Chairman Niu, You're overthinking it. Who would be so bored as to do such a thing? Giano Zizhou tried to smooth things over, Alice. It seems Counselor Giano still doesn't believe me. But it doesn't matter, I've seen through things because of this matter. When people are hungry, they don't think about anything but having something to eat. But once they're full, all sorts of ideas emerge. In this world, the most difficult thing to manage is the human heart. Niu Xingwang seemed somewhat melancholy. Chairman Niu, don't be so pessimistic. Everything will be alright. Giano Zizhou continued to smooth things over. So, I've decided to quit. To retire, Niu Xingwang said with a long sigh. What? No. Chairman Niu, what are you saying in anger? Giano Zizhou was completely stunned by these words. No, Counselor Giano, I'm really not saying it in anger. I really don't want to do it anymore. I'm tired. Chairman Niu stabilized his emotions and waved his hand. That won't do. The Chamber of Commerce's business involves all aspects of the lives of the people. You can't just say you're quitting, Giano Zizhou said, his eyes wide. Counselor Giano had misunderstood. I'm not going to shut down the Chamber of Commerce, but I plan to find someone to take over and retire to the second line myself, Niu Xingwang explained. Find someone to take over. Giano Zizhou was completely stunned, shouting loudly after shouting. He realized his voice was too loud and quickly covered his mouth. Chairman Niu, you're not saying this to me in anger, are you? Giano Zizhou asked in a lowered voice. Look at what you're saying. How could it be said in anger? Didn't I say? This is a decision made after careful consideration, Niu Xingwang said irrefutably. Has a candidate been decided? Giano Zizhou didn't bother with pretenses and quickly asked. Not yet. These past few days, I've been so overwhelmed by the Chamber of Commerce's affairs that I haven't had time to think about this matter, Niu Xingwang replied. Chairman Niu, this matter is not a trivial matter. Let me confirm again, you're sure you're not joking? Giano Zizhou was still a little incredulous. No. You've asked 100 times, Niu Xingwang replied impatiently. Then what kind of person are you planning to find? Giano Zizhou asked. This matter was too important. He was very excited. Feeling like he had been struck in the heel by a huge piece of gold, he was determined to firmly hold on to this opportunity. I haven't thought about it yet. But I might be more inclined to hand it over to the state. To be honest, with this business, even if an ordinary person is very capable, I'm afraid they won't be able to hold it. But which department to hand it over to, and how to hand it over, I have no idea yet. Niu Xingwang shook his head. Chairman Niu, what do you think about having our supervisory division manage it? Giano Zizhou asked. Chapter 481 Signing of Transfer Authorization. Counselor Giano, are you kidding me? This has nothing to do with the functions of the Oversight Department, Niu Xingwang asked in surprise. Chairman Niu, you don't know. Now, each settlement is in a state of disunity. The Oversight Department is basically just for show, with no specific work. If we can take over the Chamber of Commerce's business, it will be just right to arrange things for everyone to do, Giano Zizhou said with a sigh. I don't care. Once the Chamber of Commerce is handed over, who manages it specifically has nothing to do with me. However, I'm afraid it won't count if we decide this privately, will it? Niu Xingwang said. Why wouldn't it count? Now you are the actual controller of the Chamber of Commerce. Of course, you have the final say in how to handle the Chamber of Commerce's affairs, Giano Zizhou retorted. I think it's better to submit an application to the council first. This is a major matter concerning the national economy and the people's livelihood, and we can't be careless. Niu Xingwang disagreed. How about this? I'll help you with the council application. I'm a council member, so it will definitely be more convenient for me to handle than you. What do you think? Giano Zizhou suggested. Taking a step back. In any case, he had to secure this on the spot, otherwise, once Niu Xingwang walked out of the interrogation room, who knows how many people would come to take a bite. Well, I think that's okay. Niu Xingwang pondered for a moment and nodded. Good, I'll draft an authorization agreement now, stating that I will be fully responsible for the transfer of management rights of the Huatuang Chamber of Commerce and have the final decision-making power. What do you think? Giano Zizhou asked. Wait, Counselor Giano? Do you mean that you personally will handle it, not the Oversight Department? Niu Xingwang asked. Yes. Think about it, the position in the Oversight Department can be replaced, Giano Zizhou explained. That's true. Then let's do it this way. Niu Xingwang was too lazy to ask any more questions anyway. Once it was handed over, it would have nothing to do with him. He didn't care what happened to be cautious. The agreement was drafted by Jiao Zizhuo himself. Chairman Niu, the contract has been drafted. Take a look. Okay. Niu Xingwang took the contract and glanced at it. Okay, no problem, then sign it. Jiao Zizhuo couldn't wait any longer. Counselor Jiao, I have one more request. Niu Xingwang said. What request? We can't sign it here. Niu Xingwang said. Then where should we sign it? Jiao Zizhuo didn't understand. On the plane. Niu Xingwang replied. On the plane? Why? Jiao Zizhuo didn't understand. I'm not comfortable signing it here. Niu Xingwang said with a smile. Oh, I understand. Okay. No problem, I'll arrange it right away. Jiao Zizhuo agreed after thinking for a moment. Once the management rights were handed over, Niu Xingwang would be completely worthless. By then, who would care about his life or death? No need to bother so much, just take my plane. Niu Xingwang stopped him. Alright. Jiao Zizhuo nodded without any record or approval. Jiao Zizhuo, accompanied by 2 staff members, directly boarded Niu Xingwang's plane at this time. The people from the Civil Affairs Department and the Finance Department were still anxiously waiting for the Oversight Department's conversation to end. But they were destined to wait in vain. It wasn't until they entered the territory of the Xiaolin neutral zone that the 2 parties began to sign the agreement. Counselor Jiao, the future of the Huituang Chamber of Commerce is in your hands. This is related to the life and death of every citizen, so you must be cautious and even more cautious. He was serious about this sentence. The people were innocent. Don't worry, I will. Jiao Zizhuo said with a smile. Niu Xingwang sighed in his heart. He knew that the other party couldn't listen to him at all now. By the way, there's one more thing I want to ask you to confirm. Jiao Zizhuo suddenly thought of the main purpose of today's meeting. Counselor Jiao, please speak. Niu Xingwang nodded. It's like this. According to what we know, the Huituang Chamber of Commerce had already developed an antigen serum last year. Is this true? Jiao Zizhuo asked. The Huituang Chamber of Commerce doesn't have a research and development team, nor does it have the ability to develop. It's just a trading company. Niu Xingwang corrected. I know that. I'm referring to the person named Dongfang Chen. Jiao Zizhuo said. That's right. Not long after the virus outbreak, we developed an antigen serum. Niu Xingwang admitted frankly. So it's true. Then why didn't you take it out back then? Jiao Zizhuo was a little dissatisfied and a little choked up. Counselor Jiao, let me be blunt. Now the Chamber of Commerce's business covers the entire Hui nation, and its strength cannot be said to be weak. The mercenary guild has countless mercenaries, and their combat power is no less than any regular army. That's right, isn't it? Niu Xingwang asked. Jiao Zizhuo nodded without saying a word. Then what is the result? That's all I have to say. Goodbye. The plane had already arrived in Bato City. After Niu Xingwang finished speaking, he smiled slightly and turned to leave. Then, if the Chamber of Commerce wants to get goods in the future, will they be able to get them? Jiao Zizhuo asked loudly, looking at Niu Xingwang's back. We'll discuss it then. Niu Xingwang turned around and replied. Chapter 482. Is there any problem? What did you say? Niu Xingwang ran away. Minister Xiang Yangping of the Civil Affairs Department exploded immediately. Lao Jiao, are you confused? How could you let him go at this critical moment? Chen Guangxun of the Finance Department complained. No, his legs are his own. He's free to go wherever he wants. What right do I have to stop him? Jiao Zizhuo shrugged off the responsibility. Are you pretending to be confused or are you really confused? Don't you know why we called him here this time? Xiang Yangping questioned. I really don't know. Please enlighten me, Counselor Xiang. Jiao Zizhuo feigned ignorance. Lao Jiao, tell me honestly, did Niu Xingwang give you some benefits? Chen Guangxun sensed something was wrong. Don't talk nonsense. I'm the director of the Oversight Department. How could I make such a mistake? Jiao Zizhuo warned him, pointing his finger. Then I don't understand. We clearly agreed beforehand that you would talk first, and then we would talk after you were done. Why didn't you discuss it with us and just let him leave? Xiang Yangping asked. I'll say it again. Today was just a meeting. He had something urgent to attend to. How could I keep him? By force, Jiao Zizhuo retorted directly. I don't believe it. You didn't even have time to inform us, Xiang Yangping persisted. No, Jiao Zizhuo didn't show any consideration. Chen Guangxun didn't speak. He was constantly pondering. Jiao Zizhuo's behavior was very unusual. He clearly couldn't wait to lock up Niu Xingwang before, but his attitude changed 180 degrees after meeting him. He definitely didn't believe that nothing happened, but Jiao Zizhuo was also right. He didn't have the guts to openly accept benefits from Niu Xingwang. What exactly caused the change in his attitude? He couldn't figure it out. Lao Jiao, do you have the meeting records? Let me take a look, Chen Guangxun asked. Yes, come with me. Jiao Zizhou nodded. There were no key points in the meeting records. They were free to look at them. Meeting content. Investigator, where did Qi Jingshan get the guts to act recklessly? Wasn't it given to him by your Huituang Chamber of Commerce? As a senior manager of the Chamber of Commerce, openly doing such inhuman and insane things, as the person in charge of the Chamber of Commerce, don't you have a responsibility for negligence? Niu Xingwang, you're clearly just quibbling. I don't have X-ray vision, and no employee has good person or bad person written on their head. The company's employment standard is to assess whether a person's comprehensive business skills are competent for the job. As long as they have the ability, then naturally they can be used. The two people looked back and forth several times. Obviously, the content of the conversation was full of gunpowder. This shows that the oversight department did not deliberately protect Niu Xingwang. Have you finished reading? May I ask, do you two have any questions? Jiao Zizhou smiled faintly. Shang Yangping and Chen Guangxun looked at each other, their faces very ugly. Is there any video recording? Chen Guangxun asked. No. You know the conditions here, the electronic equipment ran out of power a long time ago. Jiao Zizhou shook his head. Currently, the underground base in Kyoto is still under construction, and the conditions in the parliament building are also very difficult afterwards. They were still not willing to give up and asked the staff member who is responsible for taking the minutes. At the time, the minute taker was also Jiao Zizhou's subordinate. How could he talk nonsense? He directly cut out the part of Jiao Zizhou's private conversation. The two did not find any problems and could only leave dejectedly. The saying goes, the monk can run away, but the temple can't. Although Niu Xingwang ran away, the Huituang Chamber of Commerce is still there. They didn't believe that Niu Xingwang would never come back, but the truth is just like that. Niu Xingwang really didn't come back. Jiao Zizhou didn't reveal the matter of the Chamber of Commerce's transfer to them. He just wanted to make it a fait accompli. The key is to quickly send people out and firmly grasp control in their hands. A week later, Jiao Zizhou made a public speech, announcing that the Huituang Chamber of Commerce would be taken over by the Oversight Department. Since then, the Huituang Chamber of Commerce has transformed into a state-owned enterprise. All counselors. What's the situation? What happened? Why does Jiao Zizhou have the right? Why does the Oversight Department have the right? I disagree. The counselors' voices of opposition rose and fell. Bang, bang, bang. Silence. Biology struck the gavel. All right, stop arguing. Let's talk. When Counselor Jiao arrives, Yan Zhangping paced back and forth in the hallway. Feeling very upset, he took out his phone and called Dongfang Chen. Oh, Xiao Chen, what exactly happened? Why did the Huituang Chamber of Commerce suddenly change hands? Commander Yan, the Huituang Chamber of Commerce has completed its mission. It's time to give it to the country. Dongfang Chen said lightly. Stop the nonsense. Tell me the truth. Yan Zhangping didn't believe it at all. That's the truth. Dongfang Chen didn't intend to talk about it in detail. Is it related to the series of events that happened before? Yan Zhangping was unwilling to give up. Chapter 483. This matter is definitely not over. Commander Yan, why be so caught up on this? The original purpose of Huituang Commerce was to make money. Now that we've shared this burden, aren't we still making money? As for who owns it, what does it matter? I think things are pretty good now. We don't have to worry about those trivial matters, and the profit margin has actually increased quite a bit, Dongfang Chen said with a smile. Yan Zhangping was stunned. What he said made sense. When they were actually in control of Huituang Commerce, there were already more than 100,000 employees, and all kinds of expenses were a huge figure. Originally, there were a lot of things to deal with, both big and small. On top of that, there were people stirring up trouble, fighting back and forth, which only exhausted energy and made people feel drained anyway. All the technological products of the commerce were produced from the main base. Now that they've relinquished control, they still have to buy them. They still make a lot of money, and they don't have to worry about things, and no one will bother them anymore. It's a win-win situation. Sun Tzu's Art of War says, a skillful defender is one whom the enemy does not know where to attack. With a successful divestment of the commerce, all those who wanted to attack instantly lost their target. You're right, I was being too fixated. Yan Zhangping also understood. Does it make a difference whether the commerce is in their hands or not? No, but holding it is a landmine. Only by throwing it away can they avoid hurting themselves. A brilliant move. Having figured this out, Yan Zhangping looked relieved. He chuckled self-deprecatingly. Sometimes he really felt that he a man in his 50s, wasn't as open-minded and unburdened as a young man. Who could he complain to? After hanging up the phone, he re-entered the council hall. The scene was deathly silent, with everyone wearing a mournful face, as if they had lost 10 billion. Seeing Yan Xiangping enter, Bailey Ji turned his head to look at him, wanting to glean some clues from his expression. He knew that Yan Xiangping must have contacted the neutral zone of Ulan. Yan Xiangping's expression was relaxed, and he even nodded at Bailey Ji. Bailey Ji frowned and nodded back. This isn't right. Doesn't the Dongfang Chen feel dissatisfied? He wondered. Lao Yan, what's the situation? What did Xiao Chen say? Zhongzhangyu pulled Yan Xiangping to his seat and asked in a low voice. Suo Tunhua also leaned in to listen. Yan Xiangping made a gesture of silence, meaning he didn't want to talk about it here. What? Shush. I'm telling you, this matter is definitely not over. The council isn't a bunch of robbers. If his supervisory department dares to blatantly snatch it, I, Lao Zhuang, will be the first to disagree, Zhongzhangyu said indignantly. I'm telling you, when that Jiao Zizhuo comes later, don't be a coward. Attack him hard, and I'll cooperate with you. Zhong Xiyan is right. I, Suo Tunhua, also state my position. This matter can't be glossed over. Suo Tunhua also chimed in. Attack what? We're here for a meeting, not a brawl. Later, don't say anything, just listen, Yan Xiangping retorted. I've realized that you're just a coward. Touch your own conscience. In the past year or so, how much has Xiao Chen done for our whole country? A young man in his 20s, always cautiously hiding in a dark base. Why? Isn't it because no one is protecting him? Even so, he still relied on his intelligence and hard work to build more than 300 underground bases for the people before the crisis came. That saved hundreds of millions of people, right? If it were in the past, he would have been qualified to build a temple and erect a monument, receiving incense offerings. And now? The work is done, but no one praises him, no one recognizes him. Instead, a large group of people are racking their brains to think about stealing the fruits of his labor. Are they even acting like human beings? I'm telling you, we can't be cowards today no matter what. Everyone is trying to protect themselves. Is there still fairness and justice in this world? Did you hear that? Zhongzhangyu pushed him. Yan Xiangping glanced at him and said nothing. Zhong Xiyan's words are right. Lao Yan, don't be a coward, fight them. I support you, Suo Tunhua interjected. Count me in. Shen Chuzhanghao didn't know when he had arrived, and suddenly said from behind, Hey! What are you guys doing? If you listen to me, then no one should say anything, Yan Xiangping said, not knowing whether to laugh or cry. Damn! I've finally seen you clearly. You're just a coward. You're nothing. Suo Tunhua was about to die of anger when he heard this, and cursed him in a low voice, pointing at him. That's right, coward. Zhongzhangyu also cursed. Get out, get out, get out. Who's a coward? You don't know anything. What are you yelling about? Yan Xiangping retorted, glaring. Hey, Lao Yan. At this moment, someone suddenly spoke. Get out. It turned out to be Liu Fiang. He was just about to come over and talk to Yan Xiangping, but was directly stopped by Suo Tunhua and Zhongzhangyu in unison. Alright. You guys go back and sit down first. Yan Xiangping dismissed the several military region commanders. Counselor Liu, is there anything you need from me? Yan Xiangping asked politely. I'm just asking you, what's going on? Why was Hultong Commerce suddenly handed over to the supervisory department to manage? Liu Fiang asked in a low voice. Counselor Liu, I'm sorry, I only found out after the announcement was made. I'm not very clear about what happened specifically, Yan Xiangping replied. Chapter 484. What are you pretending for? Is that so? What does Counselor Yan think about this matter? Liu Fiang asked. Me. I'm watching from the sidelines, Yan Xiangping said with a smile. Liu Fiang frowned, studying Yan Xiangping's expression, unable to discern his intentions logically. Yan Xiangping was closest to the Huituang Chamber of Commerce, so he should be feeling upset and dissatisfied right now. Moreover, to suppress Jiao Zizhuo, he would definitely need help. Since he took the initiative to appear at this time, he should be actively courted. But looking at Yan Xiangping, he didn't seem to have any intention of that. Could it be that Yan Xiangping is on Jiao Zizhuo's side? Liu Fiang wondered to himself, but that didn't make sense either. How could that be possible? Then, I'll take my leave. Seeing that he couldn't get any useful information, he simply nodded and turned to leave. This time, Jiao Zizhuo swallowed the entire Huituang Chamber of Commerce in one gulp, and no one in the council was convinced. They wanted to criticize him, but they had no excuse. So, they all focused their attention on Yan Xiangping, preparing to support him, saying they were supporting him was actually just wanting to push him to the front lines, and then support him from behind. Why would even Liu Fiang, who had always been against him, support him? The core of the problem was that the Chamber of Commerce could change hands, but they couldn't allow the supervisory division to monopolize everything. Sorry, there were too many things to deal with. I'm late. Jiao Zizhuo hurriedly entered the council hall, bowing apologetically. Everyone who heard this sentence felt like they had been scratched by a cat. Listen to that. Is that human language? Too many things to deal with? Does that mean everyone else is idle? Everyone thought anyway, when someone is disliked, everything about them is seen as a flaw. Well, Jiao Zizhuo, I didn't see that coming. You're usually quiet and reserved, but you're really quick, accurate, and ruthless in secret. Shang Yangping of the Civil Affairs Division was the first to attack. Li and Chen Guangxun were the most dissatisfied originally. They thought that Jiao Zizhuo had just acted on his own initiative to let Niu Xingwang go during the last 3 division meeting, but after the news of the Chamber of Commerce changing hands broke out, they realized that this was not the case at all. They had been played by Jiao Zizhuo. Counselor Shang, what are you talking about? What did I do in secret? Jiao Zizhuo asked back, without getting angry. Cut the crap. Stop pretending. What exactly did you say during the last meeting with Niu Xingwang? Why would he hand over the Huatuang Chamber of Commerce to you to manage? Shang Yangping asked. Haven't you read the meeting records? What, have you forgotten? Jiao Zizhuo asked. We were fooled by you last time. There was no relevant content about the transfer of the Chamber of Commerce at all. How do you explain that? Shang Yangping questioned. May I ask Counselor Shang, why did we meet with Niu Xingwang? Jiao Zizhuo asked. That's because the Chamber of Commerce has had many problems recently, Shang Yangping replied. That's right. Then may I ask, does the transfer of the Chamber of Commerce fall within the scope of the last meeting? Jiao Zizhuo asked. This? Shang Yangping was choked and speechless. Even if it doesn't fall within the scope of the meeting, it should still be recorded in the meeting records if it was mentioned. Chen Guangxun interjected. Sorry, this issue is not mentioned during the meeting. I mentioned it on the plane after I sent Niu Xingwang away, Jiao Zizhuo explained. Good, I knew it. How could you let Niu Xingwang leave on your own? It was all planned, Shang Yangping said. Counselor Shang, please pay attention to your wording. First of all, Niu Xingwang was not detained, so there is no issue of letting him leave on my own. Furthermore, the transfer was only mentioned on the way to send him away, and he brought it up on his own initiative. There was no plan involved, Jiao Zizhuo corrected. Bullshit. If you didn't use force, would Niu Xingwang take the initiative to give you the Chamber of Commerce? What? Do you think you're so great? Shang Yangping cursed, disregarding his image. Whether I used force or not, wouldn't it be better for you to ask Niu Xingwang to verify? Shang Yangping had asked, but Niu Xingwang said that the matter was over and he didn't want to express any opinions. There was nothing he could do since Niu Xingwang didn't want to talk about it for him. Whether force was used or not was not important. What was important was that because of the different order of the 3-division meeting, he didn't get any benefits, and who could stand that? In short, I don't recognize this transfer agreement, Shang Yangping said, still unconvinced. Jiao Zizhuo, I don't care how you got this transfer authorization. Niu Xingwang was originally an honorary advisor to the Civil Affairs Division, and the Chamber of Commerce's business is also under the jurisdiction of the Civil Affairs Division, so the management rights should be handed over to the Civil Affairs Division, Chen Guangxun said. That's right. Old Jiao, I feel that you've gone too far this time. Even if Niu Xingwang intends to transfer the Chamber of Commerce, this matter should be discussed in the council. The way you're secretly doing this is too ugly, Liu Fiang of the Military Affairs Division said. Look carefully, the transfer authorization clearly states that it is authorized in my personal name. Is it necessary to bring it to the council? Jiao Zizhuo asked back. Everything was planned meticulously by him. He was desperate to swallow the Chamber of Commerce. Chapter 485. Don't let him be too satisfied. Look carefully, the transfer authorization is very clear. It's authorized in my personal name. Is it necessary to bring this to the council? Jiao Zizhuo retorted. Who can't see through your little tricks? The purpose of signing a personal authorization is to avoid the council, isn't it? But have you considered how significant the business relationship of the Huatuang Chamber of Commerce is? It's not something you can do however you want, He Jinghu of the Security Department said. That's right. This matter must be brought to the council for discussion. You, Jiao Zizhuo, don't have the final say, Chen Guangxun of the finance department said, Counselor Jiao, I also think you've gone a bit too far with this. Even if you take over in your personal name, can your business proceed smoothly without the cooperation of the Civil Affairs Department, Finance Department, Security Department, and Land Administration Department? Pang Lijia of the Legal Affairs Department asked. Apart from the commanders of the 4 military regions, the remaining councillors expressed their dissatisfaction one after another. Jiao Zizhou also realized that he wouldn't get past this if he didn't cough up something. Pang Lijia was right. In the future, he would inevitably have to deal with other departments. If he tried to take all the profits for himself, he would definitely encounter all sorts of troubles. After all this talk, what exactly do you want? Jiao Zizhou felt stifled. Simple. Hand over the management rights to the Civil Affairs Department and the Finance Department for unified management. Shang Yangping of the Civil Affairs Department said, no way. This matter was handled by my supervisory department. Are you saying we won't get a single hair in the end? Do you think that's appropriate? Jiao Zizhou didn't approve of this plan. Zhuang Zhangaiyu, listening to them dividing the spoils here, felt a surge of anger, but Yan Zhangping kept winking at him, telling him not to speak. Only then did he barely restrain himself and remained silent. Swish, Shen Tuzhanghao stood up and left. Directly following him were Suo Tunhua and Zhuang Zhangaiyu. Seeing this situation, Yan Zhangping realized that there was little point in him staying, so he followed them out in the adjacent reception room. Old Yan, what's going on? You must explain it clearly today, Zhuang Zhangaiyu said. I called to verify this matter. Xiao Chen voluntarily handed over the Chamber of Commerce. Yan Zhangping replied, what? But why? Zhuang Zhangaiyu didn't understand. In your opinion, the change of ownership of the Huatuang Chamber of Commerce is unfair and unreasonable. So you're very angry. But what do you think is the most unfair and unreasonable point in this? And why are you so angry? Yan Zhangping asked. Naturally, it's because the enterprise that Xiao Chen painstakingly built up is being taken over by this bunch of grandsons, Zhuang Zhangaiyu said. Then are you angry that the supervisory department is taking the credit, or that Xiao Chen's efforts haven't been rewarded? Yan Zhangping continued to ask. This, naturally, it's that Xiao Chen's efforts haven't been rewarded, Zhuang Zhangaiyu reluctantly replied. But how do you know that Xiao Chen hasn't been rewarded? Yan Zhangping asked. This, do you mean, there are other transactions between them? Zhuang Zhangaiyu felt like he understood a little. Yan Zhangping shook his head, indicating no, actually, we're being too attached. We think that since Xiao Chen created the Chamber of Commerce, he should continue to manage it. As if only that is fair and reasonable. But have you ever thought that this is actually a burden for him? Yan Zhangping asked. A burden? Zhuang Zhangaiyu hadn't caught on yet. That's right, a burden. His purpose in creating the Chamber of Commerce was to accelerate the circulation of materials, and all other work revolved around this point. But now that the Chamber of Commerce can operate independently, handing it over won't have any impact. And because a large expense has been cut, profits will actually increase, Yan Zhangping explained. That seems to make sense. Zhuang Zhangaiyu nodded. Actually, there's another point. If you put aside all subjective emotions, who do you think would be more reasonable to manage the Huatuang Chamber of Commerce? Yan Zhangping asked. This, Zhuang Zhangaiyu already had the answer, but didn't say it out loud. That's right, of course it's best for the state to manage it. Only by putting it in the hands of the state can its value be maximized. And only in the hands of the state can the Chamber of Commerce break through the last layer of constraints and further expand its business scope. This is a boundary that ordinary non-governmental organizations cannot cross, Yan Zhangping said. Phew, you're right. Zhuang Zhangaiyu breathed a sigh of relief, feeling much more relaxed. Shen Tuzhanghao and Suo Tunhua weren't familiar with Dongfang Chen, so they just listened on the sidelines without speaking. That's why I told you not to speak. This matter has already been decided. Let them make as much noise as they want, Yan Zhangping added. Although what you said makes sense, there's still one thing I don't agree with, Zhuang Zhangaiyu said after thinking for a while. Oh? Tell me about it. Yan Zhangping looked at him. Even if Xiao Chen voluntarily gave it up, it's still wrong for Jiao Zizhou to shamelessly take the credit. We can't let him have it too easy, and we can't encourage this kind of coercive bureaucratic arrogance, Zhuang Zhangaiyu said. You're right, Yan Zhangping nodded. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means it was downloaded and re-uploaded without effort. We warmly invite you to visit our channel, Fanfic World. There you will find the original version of this story and many other novels of various genres. We look forward to seeing you dive into a world of incredible novels. Chapter 486 Chamber of Commerce Reorganization Plan. That's right. Let's go back and give them a good talking to. So Tunhua also chimed in after that. The verbal battle of 1 against 17 lasted for more than 10 hours. In the end, everyone was tired of shouting, and the matter was basically clarified. Then let's leave it at that. The Huatuang Chamber of Commerce's business will be directly managed by the council, with various departments cooperating. In view of Councillor Jiao's special contribution to the nationalization of the Chamber of Commerce, he will be granted the position of honorary vice president. Bailey Ji finally concluded this great debate over the management rights of the Huatuang Chamber of Commerce, ended with joint management. Jiao Zizhuo put in so much effort for so long, only to get a nominal position of honorary vice president after the matter was settled. The meeting continued for another day, with the topic being the reorganization of the Chamber of Commerce. The meeting unanimously passed the following resolutions. 1. Announce that the Huatuang Chamber of Commerce officially becomes an enterprise directly under the council. 2. Announce the separation of the mercenary guild's business. Based on the original personnel, establish local public security bureaus, legal bureaus, supervisory bureaus, security bureaus, respectively under the jurisdiction of the corresponding general bureaus. The for-profit business of the guild will be allocated to the Huatuang Chamber of Commerce, and a new institution will be established, Huatuang Military Industry. Since Huatuang Military Industry involves the sale and leasing of weapons and equipment, it will be allocated to the Military and Political Affairs Bureau for management. 3. Announce that the various settlements will continue to implement regional autonomy. 4. The debts that the various settlements have not yet repaid will continue to be repaid. 5. Since the underground bases established by the various settlements already have grain production capacity, the state will suspend the distribution of relief grain. 6. The Finance Bureau will take the lead in establishing a new department, Huatuang Bank, and based on the Huatuang Chamber of Commerce's Chamber of Commerce points, begin issuing official currency. This is something that non-governmental organizations can never do. 7. The Land Administration Bureau will take the lead in establishing 2 new departments, Huatuang Communications and Huatuang Transportation. Among them, Huatuang Communications will realize network and mobile communications based on the communication technology provided by the Mercenary Guild. Dongfang Chen also wanted to do this at the time, but the various settlements resisted to varying degrees, resulting in incomplete implementation. Huatuang Transportation will rely on the air logistics network established by the Huatuang Chamber of Commerce to continue to carry out logistics and transportation business. 8. The Agriculture Bureau will take the lead in establishing a new department, Huatuang Agriculture, which will be fully responsible for the agricultural production warehouses and food processing production warehouses in various underground bases. Through this method of refinement and separation, basically every department has a share of the pie. This is the difference between government-run and private-run. If the Chamber of Commerce is not nationalized, it is impossible to reach this step. Once the announcement was released, some were happy and some were worried. In particular, the grassroots employees of the Chamber of Commerce and the mercenaries of the Mercenary Guild were the happiest because from this moment on, they will transform into national civil servants. Then why doesn't the council use the original civil servants? That's because after the outbreak of the virus, especially after the establishment of the settlements, in order to achieve efficient office work, the various departments were streamlined and merged. Therefore, the staff in the temporary headquarters of the settlements are the civil servants of the original positions, and in order to ensure the business stability of the Chamber of Commerce and the Mercenary Guild as much as possible, the council avoids major personnel adjustments as much as possible. The most worried are the actual heads of the various underground bases. After the Chamber of Commerce is nationalized, the council has actually pinched their lifeline. If they want to be local emperors in the future, I'm afraid there will be many concerns. Today's Australian continent has become a world of animals. There are no living people on the entire continent, and various types of animals and mutated animals have formed a huge and complex ecosystem. The temperature here is still maintained at about 20 degrees, which is the golden season for breeding. Uluru, arid region of Central Australia. A war between animals is taking place. Hundreds of thousands of kangaroos are running wildly on the vast gobi. They run in the northwest direction for a while, and then collectively turn around and turn to the northeast. Are they avoiding something? As the Aborigines of the Australian continent, they originally had no natural enemies, but now the situation is different. There is an alien species that is slaughtering them. This alien species is the micro-controllable ant released by Dongfang Chen. Now they have bred very large colonies all over the Australian continent. Logically speaking, ants can't catch up with kangaroos at all, let alone hunt them. The actual situation is indeed like this in the beginning. Ants could only survive by relying on other animals to supply food. What kind of animals will supply them with food? It is another kind of creature released by Dongfang Chen. Controllable rats and controllable ants form a symbiotic relationship. And the food that leaks from the rats' mouths is enough for the ants to eat their fill for several meals. Under the promotion of this symbiotic relationship, the scale of ants began to increase rapidly. In comparison, the rate of rat reproduction is much slower. After the number of ants increases to a certain extent, they can no longer completely rely on rats to provide food. After that, the symbiotic relationship reversed, and huge ant colonies began to hunt. They rely on the power of the group to prey on large animals, so as to provide food for the rats. In the natural state, ants would definitely not do this. But these are controllable ants, and the situation is different. Chapter 487 War between animals. The ants' inability to keep up with the kangaroos was quickly resolved due to their numerical advantage. Several ant colonies coordinated to encircle the kangaroo herd from multiple directions that continuously reduced the encirclement, planning to annihilate these hundreds of thousands of kangaroos in one fell swoop. However, achieving success was extremely difficult. Kangaroos run by hopping, and their feet have very brief contact with the ground. In such a short time, the ants didn't have enough time to climb onto their bodies. Even if they did, they could easily be shaken off, but once they climbed on, they would enter the kangaroo's ears, driving them mad with constant biting, until they were exhausted and gave up resisting. The encirclement slowly shrank. The space for the kangaroos to move became smaller and smaller. The ants had successfully converged, forming a vast encirclement with a diameter of over 1 kilometer. The kangaroos shuttled back and forth within this encirclement, unable to escape. This was the most dangerous time for both sides. If the kangaroos couldn't break through, they would be completely reduced to food for the ants. If the ants continued to shrink the encirclement, the kangaroos might take a risk and forcibly charge outwards. This was a contest of physical strength and a contest of psychological fortitude. At this moment, the ants stopped moving forward, and the encirclement no longer shrank. This action by the ants gave the kangaroos a moment to breathe, but at the same time, it eliminated their sense of urgency to charge outwards. Once the sense of urgency was lost, they lost the courage to charge outwards. This plan was very effective. After the ants stopped attacking, the kangaroos continued to run for a while, then also stopped. They stood in the encirclement to rest, while constantly looking outwards. Time passed slowly. The kangaroos didn't charge, and the ants didn't dare to easily shrink the encirclement, and the two sides fell into a stalemate. This stalemate lasted for 3 days. The purpose of encircling without attacking was to exhaust them to death. The ants didn't have such high intelligence, but the queen ant did. After 3 days, the kangaroos had no food or water and couldn't hold on any longer, one by one collapsing to the ground, devoid of strength. It was time. The ants launched their final attack. They surged in from all directions and began to devour. The kangaroos rolled, struggled, but were helpless. Before long, the controllable rats also arrived. One after another, a gluttonous feast began. Every so often, the queen ant would zombify and decompose a portion of the rats, converting them into crystal cores to build the underground base. Currently, the base was already taking shape. This base had no human living areas, only production bays. The production bays were constantly producing simulated spider robots. It had now been discovered that a species of exceptionally large insect lived in the humid regions of eastern Australia, dragonflies. The average body length of these dragonflies exceeded 1.5 meters, and the largest exceeded 3 meters. This was a natural range. As long as these dragonflies could be conquered, there would be no worry about feed for the rats. December 3, 2056 AD. 200,000 simulated spider robots split into 4 groups, crossed the Flinders Ranges, and began to attack Peterborough, located in southeastern Australia, located on the west coast of Spencer Gulf. This area had abundant aquatic plants and lush vegetation, and was once a large pasture, but had now become a paradise for dragonflies. Concealed by the vegetation, the simulated spider robots weaved through the jungle. As soon as they saw a dragonfly, they would automatically attack. The sound of the laser weapons firing was very small, completely drowned out by the powerful noise of the dragonflies' vibrating wings in the jungle, so this kind of attack would not alarm the other dragonflies at all. Chirp chirp. 2 more dragonflies were shot down. Chirp 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 chirp. The massacre had begun. One by one, the corpses of dragonflies fell from the sky, struggled for a moment, and then stopped moving. The battle continued from morning until dusk, and the robots only advanced 20 kilometers. This 20 kilometers of jungle was already covered with dragonfly corpses. The sun set. and the battle ended. The next step was the most difficult task. The dragonfly corpses could not be fed directly to the rats and needed to be converted into feed. This required collecting the corpses and using a fully automated feed production line to produce it. But why was this step so difficult? That was because the fully automated harvesting aircraft were relatively large targets, and if they were targeted by the Tasmanian Empire, a fierce battle would inevitably occur. Sure enough, at 2 o'clock in the morning, 5 strange aircraft appeared. They directly launched an attack after discovering the harvesting aircraft. Fortunately, the harvesting aircraft was equipped with an energy shield, and their attacks had no effect. A large number of simulated spider robots counterattacked at the same time, and the 5 aircraft were quickly destroyed. Dongfang Chen had been waiting for this day for a long time. After receiving the news, he immediately ordered Xiaolin to issue instructions to the Queen and to collect information on them soon. The scanning results came out. The outer shell of this aircraft turned out to be the exoskeleton of a giant beetle, and, miraculously, it relied on the beetle's wings to fly. This was very strange. The beetles weren't all dead, so how could their wings still be used? Chapter 488. Meeting the leader. Here, it turned out that these beetles had undergone biological modification. In layman's terms, the beetle's body is modified through a parasitic-like process, allowing them to be completely controlled by another organism inside their body. The organism parasitizing the body can be understood as a driver. However, this driver is very unfortunate, as it can only stay inside the beetle's body for its entire life and cannot leave. Of course, even if it leaves, it cannot survive independently. Even more bizarrely, the beetle's head extends 2 tentacles, which are used as weapons. These 2 tentacles can actually release high-energy laser beams like laser guns. Moreover, these 2 tentacles are innate and not added later. The laser released by the tentacles is very different from the light released by laser guns. It is a cold light. Incredibly, this cold light can release twice the energy of existing second-generation laser guns. Through the analysis of these aircraft, Dongfang Chen came to a conclusion. One cannot understand the insect empire in the same way as understanding human society. The rules that apply in human society may not apply at all in the insect empire. Just like this aircraft, you can understand it as disposable. The driver and the beetle are completely bound together. Their inherent and only mission is to fight. This is unimaginable in human society, and is anti-human rights and antisocial. But insects can do this. He didn't know what these insect warriors were called, so he gave them a name himself. Laser flying bugs. He had a premonition that he would encounter more bizarre insect species in the future. There were many dragonfly corpses slaughtered today, and it was impossible for the harvesting aircraft to collect them all in one night. After all, this is the joint labor result of 200,000 simulated spider robots. To keep up with the recovery speed, at least 50,000 harvesting aircraft need to work simultaneously. Only 100 units have been built so far, which is far from enough. There was no way around it. Distant water couldn't quench immediate thirst. By the time the harvesting aircraft were built and ready to collect the corpses, these dragonflies would have already rotted. For the rational use of resources, ants were also dispatched. The huge ant colony was like locusts crossing the border. In a matter of seconds, a dragonfly would be eaten, leaving only its skeleton. On the other hand, the Tasman Empire lost 5 laser flying bugs. Would they let it go so easily? Definitely not soon. They sent over several thousand more. However, without an absolute weapon advantage, more numbers are just sending food. In less than an hour, these thousands of laser flying bugs were all wiped out at the same time. More than 200 simulated spider robots were also lost. Currently, the Great Sun Empire's zombie cleanup work in the United States of America has been completely stopped because except for the 7 states in the southeast region, other areas have basically been covered by snow. The current average snow depth has reached a terrifying level of about 2 meters except for the core areas of some cities. Most places can't see anything. There is only a vast expanse of white. Therefore, they can only stay in Cedar Key, Florida, for rest and reorganization, waiting for further orders located on the coast of the Gulf of Mexico. It is warm and humid due to the influence of the equatorial ocean current. Under the influence of large-scale global snowfall, the temperature is still in the teens, which is very comfortable. Florida now gathers half of the population of the entire United States of America, and many survival bases in the northern regions have been completely relocated here, especially the 2 large cities of Orlando and Miami, after the Great Sun Empire's fleet cleared the zombies, have become a paradise for survivors. November 23, 2056 AD. Several large spaceships appeared on the western border of the Xiaolin neutral zone. The hull was tiger striped and strangely shaped. Dongfang Chen was stunned after receiving the reminder. This style is very similar to the Mayan Empire of the American continent. What are the Mayans doing here? Dongfang Chen wondered. This is not a good sign. The Mayans are good at mind control. Now there are 3 million people living in the underground base of Bato City. It's no joke if they are controlled without time to hesitate. He immediately sent 10 warships to meet them. The warships were unmanned and not afraid of mind control. An hour later, the two sides met in the Dambo area. Dongfang Chen took the lead in sending a signal, warning. This is the territory of the Xiaolin neutral zone. Please leave immediately. After receiving the message was sent in 4 languages, Chinese, English, Spanish, and Ancient Indian. We are messengers sent by the High Priest of the Mayan United Empire and have no malicious intent. The other party responded, using Ancient Indian, what is the purpose of your visit to the Xiaolin neutral zone? Dongfang Chen asked, we have something very important to personally meet with a leader here. The other party replied, want to see me? Dongfang Chen was puzzled. He had never dealt with the Mayans before, and this uninvited visit was obviously very strange. Chapter 489 Purchase of Warships. Please follow our warship. Any other movements will be met with immediate attack. Repeat, please follow our warship. Any other movements will be met with immediate attack. Dongfang Chen led them to Xiaolin City. Outside the border, the residents here had already been relocated to Bato City. It was now a ghost town. Even so, Dongfang Chen didn't dare to meet them rashly, opting for a remote meeting instead. After both warships were docked, a robot approached a Mayan warship. The robot's head was an electronic screen displaying Dongfang Chen's avatar. After confirming it was safe, the Mayans brought the robot inside their warship. The interior of their warship was very ancient, filled with primitive mythological colors. The warship's corridors were dimly lit, with only gems embedded in the walls on both sides emitting a faint glow. At the end of the corridor was a security door with strange patterns drawn on it, resembling a giant human face. As they approached, the face split open from the center, and a strong light shone out. Inside was a multifunctional hall. Judging from the furnishings, dining, meetings, and training likely all took place here. Seated at an irregular conference table in the middle of the hall was a long-haired elder. Behind him stood several young people. Everyone was wearing Taoist robes. Greetings, esteemed leader of Xiaolin. I am the High Priest of the Mayan United Empire. Please excuse this sudden visit, the High Priest said, standing up, placing his left hand on his chest, and bowing. The Mayan hierarchy was structured as follows. The supreme ruler was the High Priest, who oversaw everything within the empire. Next were the High Priests, each with their own division of labor, responsible for assisting the High Priest in governing the entire empire, similar in status to counselors in whole country. Then came the priests, who generally governed a region, and could be understood as leaders of tribal alliances within an area. Clearly, the High Priest before them held a very prominent position. We have never had any dealings before. I wonder what brings you here so suddenly, Dongfang Chen asked. I will be blunt. We want to buy warships from you, the High Priest replied. Buy warships? Why? Dongfang Chen was a little baffled. Although the performance of the Mayan warships was unknown, they were able to build such massive warships, so their technology shouldn't be lacking. With such technology at hand, why would they need to buy warships from another country? The warships you manufacture are very powerful, especially the energy shield, which is completely beyond our understanding, the High Priest answered directly. Dongfang Chen now understood that they were completely after the energy shield. Last time, they seized one from Zhongchang Heo's hands, but apparently, they couldn't figure out how to manufacture the technology from it. Our Xiaolin neutral zone welcomes doing business with all forces. But I wonder how you plan to purchase them, Dongfang Chen asked. He was very willing to sell warships, as long as they could pay enough. As for whether selling the warships would pose a threat to him, that was impossible. He wouldn't dare sell without leaving some backdoors. It is said that you favor gold and gems. We can use these to trade, the High Priest said. That was in the past. Now, I'm afraid no one needs these things anymore, Dongfang Chen replied. Then I wonder what you want. The High Priest wasn't surprised. I have always used crystal cores for transactions. Do you have any? Dongfang Chen asked. He knew even without asking that the Mayans didn't have any crystal cores. Are you referring to this? The High Priest gestured, and someone next to him brought out a box. Inside the box was a blue crystal. This is Zhen crystal. Dongfang Chen took out a box that Akhang's envoy had sent last time and looked at it. The two crystals looked exactly the same. How did you obtain this? Dongfang Chen suppressed the shock in his heart and asked. I'm sorry, I cannot disclose that. The High Priest didn't answer. Do you know its use? Dongfang Chen didn't mind and continued to ask. It contains a strange energy inside, but we have tried many methods and have been unable to utilize it. The High Priest replied. How do you want to trade? Dongfang Chen asked. I wonder if 100 such crystals for one warship would be acceptable, the high priest asked. 100? Dongfang Chen was shocked again. It seemed the Mayans had a lot of gen crystals. If I'm not mistaken, you should have a mine like this, right? Dongfang Chen guessed. That's right, the high priest nodded in admission. As expected, Dongfang Chen was extremely excited. Although there was no way to rationally utilize this gen crystal now, it certainly wouldn't hurt to hoard it first. Since they had a mine, he couldn't be too stingy with his price. Chapter 490. We come from Venus. Since they have resources, we can't be too stingy with our price. 100 is too little, at least 1,000. Dongfang Chen shook his head, making a blatant demand. Deal. The high priest agreed without even thinking. Dongfang Chen was stunned. He had asked for too little. I brought 10,000 crystals this time. Let's order 10 first, the high priest said. Dongfang Chen, okay, if you have any specific requirements, you can tell me, Dongfang Chen replied, studying his emotions. Do you mean we can customize them? The high priest was excited. Yes, Dongfang Chen nodded. That's great, if you can manufacture them according to the design and control methods of our spaceships. I am willing to pay double the price. The high priest voluntarily doubled the price. Okay. But you need to leave a spaceship as a sample. This price was very comfortable, and Dongfang Chen readily agreed. Naturally, the high priest nodded. By the way, there is a question I have never understood. I wonder if the high priest can answer it. Dongfang Chen asked. Please speak. The high priest gestured. Since you are called the Mayan United Empire, does it originate from the Mayan civilization thousands of years ago? Dongfang Chen asked. Yes, and no, the high priest replied. Oh? How do you mean? Dongfang Chen was a little puzzled. Strictly speaking, we and the Mayan civilization that disappeared thousands of years ago share a common ancestor, the high priest replied. Wait, didn't the Mayan civilization disappear only hundreds of years ago? Dongfang Chen interrupted. No. In fact, the Mayan civilization had already disappeared more than 2,000 years ago. It's just that the local natives were influenced by Mayan culture, and many customs have been passed down, the high priest explained. Then since the Mayan civilization disappeared more than 2,000 years ago, where did you come from? Dongfang Chen asked. Our physical bodies are actually the local natives, but our consciousness has only just awakened, the high priest replied. I don't quite understand. Dongfang Chen shook his head. Actually, you and I are the same. We both come from the same place, the high priest replied. From the same place? Dongfang Chen became more and more confused. Yes. Our ancestors all came from the planet Venus, which is what you call Venus. The high priest revealed a shocking secret. This is too unbelievable. I think this is just a myth circulating within your group, right? Dongfang Chen didn't quite believe it. Although many people now question the theory of evolution, they only question some of the views in it. For example, since humans evolved from ancient apes, why haven't any transitional creatures been found? It seems that all humans suddenly appeared collectively from a certain point in time. Even if we assume that a long time ago, a certain ancient ape in a certain cave underwent a genetic mutation, and the number of chromosomes changed, leading to mutation into a human. But this person could not mate with other ancient apes to produce new offspring, and the entire group could not produce the same mutation in unison. How could humans have evolved? Not only humans, but many species have similar problems. Even reproductive isolation caused by regions cannot cause a population to change the number of chromosomes at the same time. The several species explosions in the history of Blue Star have not found corresponding answers so far. Moreover, no theory can reasonably explain why hundreds of thousands of different species appeared simultaneously in a very short period of time. But questioning is questioning. The generally accepted view is that evolution is a gradual process from simple to complex, from single to diverse, and from low level to high level. As for the idea that humans came from other planets, it has only been mentioned in science fiction movies. That's not the case. Our method of inheritance is a bit special, and some shared memories can be passed on to the next generation through heredity. The high priest shook his head very firmly. That is to say, everything you just mentioned is innate. Dongfang Chen asked. Almost. Originally, we didn't realize that these memories existed in our brains, but after the virus outbreak last year, they were suddenly awakened, the high priest replied. Suddenly awakened? I'm sorry, my question may make you feel uncomfortable, but I still want to ask, how do you determine that these memories were awakened, rather than implanted? Dongfang Chen asked. As far as I know, there is no such method of implanting memories. and all the memories awakened by all our people are exactly the same. Also, it's a feeling. All the knowledge we currently inherit has an innate sense of intimacy. The high priest described his feelings as accurately as possible. Chapter 491 Sacrifice Ceremony. What you said just now, that we all come from Venus, what's that about? Dongfang Chen asked. I only know that Venus's ecosystem should have collapsed, and human ancestors migrated here. I don't know much more than that, the high priest replied, shaking his head. So, both Venus and Blue Star had life at that time? Dongfang Chen asked. Not just Venus and Blue Star, a long time ago, many planets in the solar system had life, the high priest replied. When was this? Dongfang Chen was very surprised. It's hard to say the exact time. We haven't been awakened for very long, and many things haven't been fully clarified yet, the high priest said, shaking his head. One last question, what do you need so many battleships for? Dongfang Chen asked. This. I think our goals should be the same, right? The high priest looked a little puzzled. Dongfang Chen was also puzzled by this answer. The same goal? What goal? Dongfang Chen himself was stunned. He has no goal now. The mission assigned by the space station has been completed. He is now building so many battleships just to protect himself, to prevent other super-political entities with unknown details from causing trouble for him. Besides that, there is no other purpose. Although he had such doubts, he couldn't let the other party know that he didn't understand, so he could only ask in another way. We are only meeting for the first time. How do you know what my purpose is? Are you looking for the reason behind the ecological changes on Blue Star? The high priest asked. Dongfang Chen was speechless. What's going on here? What makes you say that? Dongfang Chen asked. You sent a fleet to the American continent to hunt zombies there, right? The death energy on them will pollute the entire ecosystem. It's just that we don't have the strength to completely eliminate them. The high priest sighed. Dongfang Chen understood that the Mayans believed that what he was doing was saving Blue Star's ecology. Of course, it is undeniable that he chose to completely decompose the corpses of zombies, and indeed had this consideration. After all, the transfer of viruses to the microbial world is the culprit of the ecological crisis, so there is nothing wrong with the Mayans saying that, but even with battleships, you don't have the conditions to clean up the zombies. Dongfang Chen said. You misunderstood. We are not going to clean up the zombies, but plan to attack Nata. The high priest replied. Nata, that is, the Nata United Republic. According to the information Dongfang Chen has, there are inextricable links between the Mani Church and the Nata United Republic. But are they related to the ecological crisis? If you want to say yes, it is indeed possible. After all, the red-clothed sect rose after the virus just broke out, and mastered the method of controlling zombies and suppressing the virus. But it's hard to say what kind of relationship exists. After all, the information available is too little. Of course, you can't expose your shortcomings during the conversation. So Dongfang Chen can only follow the topic and ask, how much do you know about Nata? Dongfang Chen asked. We are old rivals, and we know a lot about them. However, it's mostly superficial. The high priest replied. Dongfang Chen couldn't figure out what kind of conflict could exist between them, one in the American continent and the other in the Eurasian region. But this question cannot be asked directly. After all, the high priest mentioned just now that they have a common goal. Asking this question is equivalent to admitting that he knows very little, and he is not sure whether it will cause any trouble. But now is indeed a good opportunity to obtain key information, and it must not be missed. How can I get more information out of him? Dongfang Chen pondered for a moment and decided to play a trick, so he asked, it's a bit whimsical to want to attack Nata with just a few battleships, right? That's right. But we must destroy the altar before their sacrificial ceremony begins, otherwise Blue Star will repeat the mistakes of Venus. The high priest looked sad. Sacrificial ceremony? Dongfang Chen couldn't control himself and shouted out. But after shouting, his heart sank. It would be troublesome if the Mayans noticed anything unusual. That's right. Maybe you don't know, the Nata United Republic is actually just a puppet civilization. The high priest didn't suspect anything and still answered every question. Dongfang Chen secretly breathed a sigh of relief. This is considered lucky to dig out a new topic. What is a puppet civilization? Dongfang Chen asked. Their thoughts are controlled, so they are called a puppet civilization. The high priest explained. You mean everyone is controlled? Dongfang Chen couldn't believe it. He had heard of puppet regimes, but that was just the rulers being controlled. But it was the first time he had heard of a civilization being able to be controlled. This is too bizarre. Chapter 492 Puppet Civilization. It's understandable that one or two individuals might be secretly controlled. It's also understandable that an organization like the Red Robe sect could control more people through drugs, but how can controlling an entire civilization be understood? Note that throughout history, civilizations have been conquered many times. A civilization can invade another through military force and achieve complete assimilation within a century or two through religious assimilation, cultural infiltration, and so on, but that's assimilation, not control. Historically, every attempt to control another civilization through force has invariably failed. Not yet. But if the sacrificial ceremony is completed, the situation will be different, the high priest said, shaking his head. What will happen if the sacrificial ceremony is completed? Dongfang Chen asked. All civilizations will be destroyed by them, the high priest replied. Who is controlling them? Dongfang Chen asked. Could it be the Manichaeism? That was his first reaction. I don't know. The message left by the ancestors only contained one sentence. Beware of them, the high priest replied. You're concluding that the motto are a puppet civilization based on just one sentence? That's too arbitrary, isn't it? Dongfang Chen felt that they were already taking the topic into the realm of metaphysics. Not at all. The last segment of memory in our minds comes from a plague that occurred more than 2,000 years ago. It was that plague that led to the collapse of the entire Mayan civilization. At that time, 5 high priests used mind reading on several invaders and confirmed that it was a premeditated civilization extermination plan. And the one executing this plan was the Mado people, the high priest said. What does that have to do with the Mado being a puppet civilization? Dongfang Chen didn't understand. This is the power of mind reading, to be able to peek into the depths of a person's heart. I can't describe the feeling, but what I can confirm is that their cognition doesn't come from themselves, the high priest described. Are you saying that someone is manipulating their thoughts, even their actions? Dongfang Chen stated according to his understanding. Yes, the high priest nodded. Xiaolin, can you help me check what period it was in Eurasia more than 2,000 years ago? Dongfang Chen asked. Commander, more than 2,000 years ago, the Persian Empire collapsed and the Sumerian civilization was destroyed. Hearing this answer, Dongfang Chen felt his hair stand on end. Doesn't it sound like a planned civilization extermination event? Then has it been detected who exactly is controlling the motto? Dongfang Chen asked. No, the high priest replied bluntly. I've always had a question. Why did the 8th civilization of Europe, the Tasmanian civilization of Australia, and your Mayan civilization appear at almost the same time? What exactly is going on? Dongfang Chen asked the question that had been lingering in his mind for a long time. I don't know much about the 8th and Tasmanian civilizations you mentioned. But what I do know is that the Agara civilization, the Indus-Pakistan civilization, and the Mayan civilization we are in all revived at the same time. In addition to your Chinese civilization and the Sumerian civilization that has not yet revived, these civilizations actually all come from Venus. The high priest did not directly answer his question. The Agara civilization is located on the African continent and has now formed the Agara Democratic Republic. The Indus-Pakistan civilization is the current India and Pakistan. No one has yet discovered that the scorpions that are rampant in the Ladakh region came from India and Pakistan. Dongfang Chen frowned. He wasn't satisfied with this answer. In other words, you also don't know why so many civilizations revived at the same time, he further asked. Yes, the high priest replied. Dongfang Chen now basically believed what he said because just now, he had Xiaolin look up the historical records of the Mayan civilization and found a very strange point. That is, a long time ago, the Mayans used another calendar, called the divine calendar. In that calendar, a year was 260 days. This is extremely close to the orbital period of Venus. Furthermore, they also had another calendar, which was a calendar summarized from the observation of Venus's orbit from Earth, called the Venus calendar. This has not appeared in other civilizations. Coupled with what the high priest mentioned today, that the Mayans have the ability to inherit memories, it is not difficult to draw such a conclusion. The Mayans are very likely from Venus, and that divine calendar was brought from Venus. The Venus calendar represents their special feelings for Venus and their ancestors, and of course, it may also have other uses. Sometimes knowing too much is a burden. Dongfang Chen seemed to have realized that the current Mayans were not fighting for the future, but for the past. Their brains were burdened with too many memories of their ancestors, which gave them a greater sense of mission and a strong desire for revenge. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means it was downloaded and re-uploaded without effort. We warmly invite you to visit our channel, Fanfic World. There you will find the original version of this story and many other novels of various genres. We look forward to seeing you dive into a world of incredible novels. Chapter 493, Digging Earth for Soldiers. Thank you for your answers. I finished asking my questions, Dongfang Chen said with a smile. I still don't know your name, the high priest said, unoffended. My name is Dongfang Chen, Dongfang Chen replied. Respected leader Dongfang, in our memories, there is some content about the ancient Huaxia civilization. I wonder if you need it, the high priest asked. Is that so? I'd be glad to hear the details, Dongfang Chen said. Our ancestors learned another thing when they used mind reading on Lord Motto. The ancient Huaxia civilization was also in Lord Motto's extermination plan, the high priest said. Dongfang Chen's first reaction upon hearing this was that this guy was trying to stir up hatred and pull him into their camp, but on second thought, of the ancient civilizations, only the Huaxia civilization has continued to this day, which means that even if Lord Motto had such a plan, it must not have succeeded in the end. So he said calmly, unfortunately, they failed, didn't they? Leader Dongfang, please don't misunderstand. I don't have any other intentions. I just want to tell you that the failure of Lord Motto's plan was related to a leader of the ancient Huaxia civilization, the high priest explained apologetically. Which leader? Dongfang Chen asked. I'm sorry, our ancestors' memory did not retain the name of this leader, only a passage, the high priest replied. What passage? The Huaxia leader dug up earth to make soldiers, spent 10 years, and all the preachers were killed in bits, and all the altars were destroyed, dug up earth to make soldiers. Dongfang Chen was stunned. Yes. I have to say, it was a good idea. Earth soldiers have no flesh and blood, are not affected by the virus, and will not be influenced in mind. I think this is the key to that great leader being able to defeat Lord Motto. It's just a pity that we knew it too late. The high priest shook his head and sighed. Dongfang Chen understood the history of Huaxia, and he could also hear that this passage was actually a description from the perspective of the Maya. After seeing the corresponding scene through mind reading, they didn't understand the culture of Huaxia, so it sounded a bit strange. Through the analysis of the two keywords dug up earth to make soldiers and killed in bits, he immediately knew that the Huaxia leader mentioned by the Maya was Qin Shi Huang. In the entire history of Huaxia, only he made a large number of terracotta warriors. Aren't these terracotta warriors dug up earth to make soldiers? And the time is just right. Exactly more than 2,000 years ago he had always been curious as to why only Qin Shi Huang chose to make so many terracotta warriors as burial objects, and before or after that, no other emperor did so. Now, he finally understood these are not burial objects, but warriors guarding the Huaxia civilization. Perhaps Qin Shi Huang discovered the existence of the Mani sect soon after unifying the country. They tried to destroy the entire Huaxia civilization by spreading viruses and drugs. This approach is extremely similar to the current Red Robe cult. Just as the high priest said, the terracotta warriors have no flesh, are not infected by viruses, and their minds cannot be controlled. Dealing with those cultists must be invincible. But how exactly were those terracotta warriors driven? It's really puzzling. Thank you for telling me, Dongfang Chen thanked. Mr. Dongfang, I'll leave the warship to you, the high priest said. We'll complete it as soon as possible. Dongfang Chen nodded in response. This conversation was very rewarding for Dongfang Chen. The information brought by the Maya gave him a further understanding of the current world situation. As for whether these civilizations came from Venus, he didn't care and didn't care. The past is dust, the future is the most important thing. After the Maya left, Dongfang Chen began to scan the warship they left behind. This scan revealed another unexpected discovery. The Maya's warship has a very peculiar power system. The core is a huge crystal ball with a diameter of more than 2 meters. In addition, a circle of more than a dozen smaller crystal balls with a diameter of only a few tens of centimeters are inlaid on the outside of the bottom of the warship. These crystal balls can generate linkage and provide power for the warship. After Xiaolin's analysis, this power comes from the magnetic field. Okay, the Maya are indeed the Maya, and they always make him feel incredible. Again and again he couldn't replicate this crystal ball, so the power engine could only continue to use the anti-gravity engine. He still tried his best to make the style and layout according to the style of the sample warship. A day later, the design was completed, and Xiaolin began to design the production plan according to Dongfang Chen's design. He didn't need to worry about the rest. Next, he had a very important thing to do, which was to go to the mausoleum of Qin Shi Huang. For some reason, he vaguely felt that the mausoleum of Qin Shi Huang must contain a lot of unknown information. Perhaps it will be of great help to further uncover the veil of Lord Motto and the Mani sect. Chapter 494, There is actually no weapon. November 26, 2056, accompanied by Dai Zhang and 12 special operations soldiers, Dongfang Chen arrived at the Qin Emperor's mausoleum, located more than 20 kilometers east of Chang'an City. He had visited this place before the virus outbreak, but at that time, he was just a tourist, an outsider. They first arrived at the Terracotta Army Pits, located 1.5 kilometers east of the mausoleum. The weather was cold, and with continuous heavy snow, the estimated snow thickness here had reached 3 meters. Looking around, it was a vast expanse of white, and nothing could be seen. The entire Terracotta Army exhibition hall was completely covered, with only the raised snowdrifts indicating that this was the place he was looking for. Begin, Dongfang Chen ordered. Yes, Dai Zhang acknowledged the order. A large number of robots swarmed out of the warship. Their mission was to clear the snow. Tens of thousands of robots worked day and night for a full day and night, finally clearing all the snow around the exhibition hall. Dongfang Chen walked into the exhibition hall, his body trembling because it had been unattended for a long time, and even served as a territory for zombies for a period of time. The exhibition hall was in a chaotic state. Black and red bloodstains, as well as brownish-yellow unidentified viscous liquids, remained on the walls and ground. He walked step by step towards the terracotta pits. The terracotta warriors in the pit still stood there quietly, as if time had stopped for some reason. He suddenly felt a tightness in his chest, his eyes were a little moist, and his hands trembled uncontrollably. He clenched his hands into fists, took a deep breath, and ordered, "Lower the equipment." Yes, Dai Zhang gestured. Several special operations soldiers carried over a box, secured it with ropes, and then lowered it down. After the box reached the bottom, 2 special operations soldiers jumped down. One person observed the surroundings, while the other squatted down, untied the ropes, and opened the box. After completing the operation, he stood up and gave an OK sign to the top. "Come up." Dai Zhang nodded and ordered. The 2 soldiers jumped up directly from below. "Xiaolin, start scanning," Dongfang Chen ordered through his digital eye. "Okay, Commander." 10 minutes later, "Commander, the scan is complete. These are a batch of pottery terracotta warriors, estimated to have been made over 2,000 years ago," Xiaolin reported. "Are there any other discoveries?" Dongfang Chen asked. "These terracotta warriors have traces of being repaired," Xiaolin replied. "Anything else?" "That's all," Xiaolin replied. "Have these terracotta warriors been activated before?" Dongfang Chen asked. "Commander, these terracotta figures are just decorations and not mechanical structures," Xiaolin replied. Dongfang Chen frowned. This was not the answer he wanted, since the Mayan memories contained records of Qin Shi Huang creating soldiers from Earth. These terracotta warriors could not possibly be dead. Something must be wrong. "Commander, I've never understood this. These terracotta warriors clearly held weapons, but where did their weapons go?" Dai Zhang asked from the side. "There are many theories about this. Some say they rotted away due to the passage of time, others say they were stolen by Xiangyu, the overlord of Chu at the time. There are other theories as well, all kinds of them. But these are all speculations, and there is no concrete evidence," Dongfang Chen explained. "Which one do you lean towards?" Dai Zhang asked. "The theory of weapon rotting is definitely untenable. The bronze chariots and horses are still there, so why would only the weapons rot away? The theory of tomb raiding is even more untenable. What kind of person was Xiangyu? How could he do such petty thievery? You could say he smashed, looted, and burned, but he definitely couldn't do something like stealing," Dongfang Chen replied. "Moreover, it is said that he led 300,000 people to raid the tomb, which is even more ridiculous. Did Xiangyu not care about face? If hundreds of thousands of people raided the tomb together, it would have been known to everyone. The records of the grand historian would not only have 8 simple words: burned the Qin palaces, took its treasures. So, I actually don't know where their weapons went," Dongfang Chen said with a smile. "Commander, is there a possibility that they didn't have weapons at all?" Dai Zhang asked casually. "How could that be? If they didn't have weapons, why are their hands in a grasping shape?" Dongfang Chen said halfway, then suddenly stopped. "Commander, what's wrong?" Dai Zhang asked, thinking he had said something wrong when he saw him stunned. "Depart, go to the Qin Emperor's mausoleum." Dongfang Chen didn't explain, turned around and left. Dai Zhang didn't hesitate, quickly ordered the special operations soldiers to pack up and follow. The Terracotta Army exhibition hall was only a little over a kilometer away from the Qin Emperor's mausoleum, but the snow was deep, so they could only travel by aircraft. Soon, they cleared a 10-meter square area on the north side of the Qin Emperor's mausoleum and placed a detector. Xiaolin, Order the Queen Bee to use this as the center to conduct a comprehensive exploration of the underground area within a 1.5-kilometer radius, Dongfang Chen ordered. Chapter 495, The Qin Emperor's Mausoleum Cannot Be Opened. Xiaolin, order the Queen Bee to conduct a comprehensive search of the underground area within a 1.5-kilometer radius, using this as the center. Understood, Commander. The order has been issued. The screen inside the warship began to display the synchronized search footage. At first, it was just pitch black, and then small squares began to appear one by one. The images within the squares were messy and incomprehensible, and nanobits divided the entire underground space into 1 mm cubic blocks, exploring them one by one, so the presented image temporarily resembled a cross-sectional view. Once the entire search is complete, Xiaolin will synthesize the data as needed. Since the area being searched is large and not a hollow structure, the speed will be much slower. Just as he was waiting, Dongfang Chen's digital eyes suddenly received a call reminder. The caller was Yan Zhangping. Commander Yan, is there something I can help you with? Dongfang Chen answered the phone and asked, Xiachen, someone is going to see you. Please meet them, Yan Zhangping said. I'm sorry, Commander Yan, but I'm not in Bato City right now, Dongfang Chen replied. Taken aback, he felt that Yan Zhangping's tone was a bit strange. Normally, if someone were to visit him, he would definitely call in advance to discuss it. Unlike this time, he directly informed him that someone was coming. You're at the Qin Emperor's Mausoleum, I know. Wait for them there, someone will be there to find you soon, Yan Zhangping said. How did you know? Dongfang Chen was very surprised. In this day and age, does anyone have the ability to monitor me? He found it very unbelievable. Of course, I don't know. Someone asked me to notify you. I don't know the specifics, you'll know when they arrive, Yan Zhangping said. Okay, I understand, Dongfang Chen replied. 20 minutes later, a Huatuang Chamber of Commerce aircraft arrived. In this weather, helicopters are useless. Such thick snow makes landing a major problem. Old Qin, Dongfang Chen was a little surprised. Xiachen, we meet again. Let's find a quiet place to talk, Old Qin said with a smile. Please. Dongfang Chen led him to a room on the warship. Xiachen, why did you suddenly come here? Old Qin asked directly. Old Qin, it's a long story. I accidentally obtained intelligence indicating that Motto is likely related to this virus outbreak. And this isn't the first time they've implemented such a plan. It's said that the sudden demise of several major civilizations more than 2,000 years ago was also directly related to them, Dongfang Chen said. Then what does that have to do with the Qin Emperor's Mausoleum? Old Qin didn't seem surprised. It's said that Emperor Qin Shi Huang successfully crushed Motto's conspiracy, allowing Chinese civilization to be passed down, so I wanted to come here to look for clues, Dongfang Chen explained. I see, Old Qin nodded thoughtfully. Old Qin, did you come to find me suddenly because of something? Dongfang Chen asked politely. I came to tell you that the Qin Emperor's Mausoleum cannot be opened. Old Qin replied. Why is that? Dongfang Chen asked. Because the consequences are very serious, Old Qin replied. I don't understand. Dongfang Chen shook his head. Let's not talk about before the founding of the country. In the 100+ years since, countless civilians have tried to steal from the Qin Emperor's Mausoleum, and without exception, they have all died, Old Qin said. How did they die? Dongfang Chen asked. Unclear. When people found them, they were all dead in the privately dug tunnels. Old Qin shook his head. Old Qin, that's in the realm of metaphysics, isn't it? Dongfang Chen didn't believe such a strange thing could happen. Xiachen, think about it. The enormous Qin Emperor's Mausoleum has been here for thousands of years, and no one has been able to steal from it. Doesn't that explain something? Old Qin said. Were autopsies performed on those deceased? What was the cause of death? Dongfang Chen asked. Autopsies were definitely performed. Without exception, no external injuries. Natural death, Old Qin replied. Is it possible it was suffocation or poisoning? Dongfang Chen continued to rationalize. You brat. What? Do you think you're the smartest person in the world? Do you think I need you to remind me of that? Old Qin pointed at him and scolded playfully. Dongfang Chen also knew that his question was a bit rash. Over the years, countless people have probably tried to glean clues from these deceased, so naturally, all sorts of possibilities have been considered. Old Qin, please stop being mysterious and just tell me if there's any other information, Dongfang Chen said with a smile. Of course, there is. In fact, when the terracotta army pits next door were excavated, other things were discovered as well, Old Qin said, pointing in the direction of the terracotta army exhibition hall. Really? What things? Dongfang Chen asked eagerly. This was his main purpose for coming here. A stone tablet, Old Qin replied. Chapter 496, Excavated by Invaders. A stone tablet? What kind of stone tablet? Dongfang Chen asked. It has 6 characters written on it. Trespassers of the imperial tomb shall die, Old Qin replied. Then where is the stone tablet? Dongfang Chen asked. It's gone. Old Qin spread his hands, answering. Gone? No, Old Qin, you didn't come all this way just to tell me a story, did you? Besides, even if there really is such a stone tablet, it's just a threatening statement. Why take it seriously? Dongfang Chen laughed. Don't you underestimate it. In recent years, more than a dozen experts researching the Qin Emperor's mausoleum have sacrificed their lives, Old Qin said. Old Qin, don't worry, I won't go down. As you can see, I'm just sending some probes down, nothing will happen. You should go back first, we'll contact each other if there's any news. Dongfang Chen prepared to open the door to leave. He had no interest in discussing these mystical things. Here, little Chen. Old Qin's expression changed. He shouted to stop him, seeing that Old Qin was angry. Dongfang Chen quickly softened his tone. He's so old, don't let him get sick from anger. Old Qin, why are you still angry? Didn't I tell you, I won't go down, I'll just use the equipment to check it out. Dongfang Chen walked to Old Qin and helped him sit down. Sigh. You don't need to test anymore, this place has actually been opened long ago, Old Qin said in a softened tone. Dongfang Chen was stunned. In fact, this place was already looted by invaders 200 years ago. Old Qin dropped a bombshell. But, if it has been looted, then why has it always been said to the outside world that it has never been opened? Dongfang Chen couldn't understand. Moreover, Old Qin just said that those who tried to loot the imperial tomb were dead. Now he says it has already been robbed, which is simply self-contradictory. After the founding of the country, our experts carried out rescue repairs on the Qin Emperor's mausoleum. In the coffin of the first emperor, a bundle of jade slips woven with gold thread was found, and the content on it shocked everyone. Old Qin said. What was written on it? Dongfang Chen felt that this was the content he was looking for. It described the scene of a cult called the Fire Purification Sect spreading the art of immortality throughout the Qin dynasty. At that time, plagues were rampant and starvation was widespread, and the Fire Purification Sect took advantage of the situation to grow stronger, widely recruiting believers. The first emperor personally led 6 expeditions, on the one hand, widely spreading education, and on the other hand, launching a purge against those cultists. In more than 10 years, countless preachers and believers were buried alive. All the heretical scriptures seized were burned, and those who privately hid scriptures were implicated. As the saying goes, heaven rewards diligence, and finally the remnants of the Fire Purification Sect were completely exterminated on the shores of the East Sea. Old Qin said such a description basically matched the information provided by the Mayans, but Old Qin's description was more comprehensive. That is to say, the historical claim that Qin Shi Huang made 6 tours to find the elixir of immortality is wrong. Dongfang Chen said. That's right. After seeing the content on the jade slips, several experts lamented how huge the gap between history and reality was. Old Qin replied. Perhaps this Fire Purification Sect and the current Red Robe Sect are cults of the same nature. Dongfang Chen guessed. Perhaps. Old Qin took a deep breath, looking very melancholy. Dongfang Chen felt that Old Qin's expression was very wrong. What does Qin Shi Huang's extermination of the Fire Purification Sect have to do with him? Why is he so melancholy? Old Qin, what's wrong with you? Dongfang Chen asked. It's nothing, I just feel sorry for this eternal emperor. Old Qin sighed. Yes. It's very regrettable. Dongfang Chen nodded. Historical records show that Qin Shi Huang began his first tour before unifying the 6 kingdoms. Now it has been confirmed that the purpose of the tour was to eliminate the Fire Purification Sect. That is to say, basically his second half of his life was spent endlessly fighting against the Fire Purification Sect until the 6th tour. He died in Shakyu. Is this an emperor? This looks more like a non-stop working machine. No wonder even the former high priest of the Maya praised this Chinese leader. However, Old Qin's narrative lacks a key content, that is, the terracotta army. The Mayan high priest mentioned the phrase digging soil for soldiers. Old Qin. Did the jade slips mention how the Fire Purification Sect was exterminated? Dongfang Chen asked. No, it didn't. Old Qin shook his head. Okay then. Dongfang Chen nodded. Alright, little Chen, now that the situation is clear, let's leave, Old Qin said. Oh, right, Old Qin. Apart from discovering the jade slips in Qin Shi Huang's tomb, Didn't you find anything else? Dongfang Chen asked, sigh. The first emperor's mausoleum was looted, and there were not even a few floor tiles left. What valuable things could there be? Apart from some broken terracotta figurines, there is nothing else. Old Qin sighed and shook his head, looking very distressed. But why did Dongfang Chen feel vaguely untrustworthy? He always felt that Old Qin was fooling him. Old Qin, I heard that Qin Shi Huang's mausoleum is very magnificent, with a sun, moon, stars, mountains, and rivers all available. Since you know the situation inside, can you tell me about it? Dongfang Chen asked tentatively. Chapter 497 Contradiction. All of this is made up by later generations. The hundreds of thousands of prisoners who were responsible for building the underground palace at the time were all sealed inside. Who really knows what the situation was like inside? Old Qin shook his head. What exactly is it like inside? Dongfang Chen didn't give up, wanting to find loopholes in his words. The underground palace collapsed a long time ago due to its age. After 5 years of secret hard work, the older generation of archaeologists finally restored its original appearance. In reality, there's nothing mysterious about it. The entire underground tomb is a conical structure, narrow at the bottom and wide at the top. The emperor's coffin is at the very bottom, with a tunnel leading to the outside. Above that are multiple burial chambers connected by spiraling tunnels, which probably had different functions. Unfortunately, because all the burial goods were stolen, it's impossible to know what those burial chambers were specifically used for. Old Qin gave a simple introduction. Old Qin, don't try to fool me. 70,000 people sealed in a tunnel. How wide would that tunnel have to be? Dongfang Chen retorted. The number 70,000 comes from the records and historical records. Why would I lie to you? A huge number of skeletal remains and a large number of arrows were indeed found at the tunnel exit. Old Qin added. Old Qin, then tell me, what exactly were those terracotta warriors used for? And, are there any similar terracotta warriors in the Emperor Qin's mausoleum? Dongfang Chen asked. What? Didn't you learn about this when you were in school? Aren't those terracotta warriors Emperor Qin's burial objects? Everyone in Huan Nation knows that. I also said just now that there are indeed some broken terracotta figures in the imperial mausoleum, but not many. Judging from their shapes, they are all inner court officials and maids. Old Qin explained. It sounded like there were no problems. Old Qin, it's not that I don't believe you, it's just that there are too many loopholes in your words. Let's start with these terracotta figures. Are they burial objects? I don't think so, right? The records of the Grand Historian recorded the process of Emperor Qin's burial, and there was no mention of these terracotta figures at all. If Emperor Qin used terracotta figures instead of human sacrifices, it would be a groundbreaking move. Wouldn't it deserve a significant mention in the records of the Grand Historian? Furthermore, you just admitted that hundreds of thousands of people were buried in the Imperial Mausoleum. That's hundreds of thousands of people. You say this is terracotta figure burial instead of human sacrifice? Isn't that a contradiction? We all know that Sima Jin would rather suffer castration than complete this epoch-making work, which shows his firm will on rigorous writing. First, Emperor Qin was buried, and then Xiang Yu excavated the tomb. For him, these were only events that happened decades ago. Wouldn't he know anything about it? Moreover, these people are not his relatives, and there is no need for him to cover up for them. So what does this mean? Dongfang Chen said what he thought. What does it mean? Old Qin glared at him. It means that these terracotta figures are not burial objects at all, and it's even very possible that they were not buried at the same time. Dongfang Chen said his deduction. Why are you so sure? Old Qin retorted. Because these terracotta figures are not on the tomb at all. Dongfang Chen said. Nonsense. Alright, I've said what I needed to say, you can leave now. Old Qin didn't want to continue talking. This is also because Dongfang Chen is now independent in form. If it were someone else, Old Qin probably wouldn't waste so much saliva. The burial has been completed. Some say that the craftsmen knew the mechanisms, and if they knew too much, they would leak the secrets. After the major event was completed, the burial was done, the middle gate was closed, the outer gate was lowered, and all the craftsmen who knew the secrets were sealed inside, never to come out again. Trees and plants were planted to resemble mountains. Dongfang Chen recited a passage from the biography of Emperor Qin Shi Huang. What are you talking about? Old Qin stared at him. Old Qin, these 700,000 craftsmen were locked outside the underground palace. Am I right in understanding it this way? Dongfang Chen asked inexplicably. That's right. Old Qin nodded. Do you know how much space it would take for more than 700,000 people to stand together? Let me calculate it for you. According to the situation where one person standing occupies an area of 0.25 square meters, 700,000 people can fill 175,000 square meters of land. What kind of concept is this? Dongfang Chen looked at him. What kind of concept? Old Qin still didn't understand what he meant. This is equivalent to a square with a side length of 420 meters, while the main part of the imperial mausoleum in front of us is only a square with a side length of 370 meters, Dongfang Chen explained, and then, Old Qin asked, may I ask Old Qin, how much area did the skeletal remains at the tunnel exit that you mentioned occupy? Dongfang Chen stared at him and asked, this. You must be calculating it wrong. People can overlap, how could they occupy so much area? Old Qin retorted, I said just now that these people were locked inside, not killed and then put in, so naturally they couldn't overlap. Dongfang Chen shook his head, disagreeing with his point of view. Chapter 498 The Secret Passed Down. Okay, even if it's as you say, the buried artisans weren't layered. But the passage spirals downwards, it's not a flat surface. Old Qin still didn't agree. Dongfang Chen knew Old Qin was talking nonsense as soon as he heard these words. His willingness to compromise on the viewpoint meant he hadn't actually seen the real underground palace. Then the claim that the underground palace had been excavated naturally fell apart. However, Dongfang Chen didn't argue with him, and continued to follow his train of thought. Alright. As you said, these artisans were locked in the passage. Even if this passage leading to the underground palace is on average 5 meters wide, do you know how long the passage would need to be to accommodate so many artisans? Okay, stop calculating, it's completely meaningless. Old Qin waved his hand to stop him. 35 kilometers. Dongfang Chen announced the answer directly, regardless of whether he wanted to hear it or not. Old Qin didn't speak. Of course, the actual passage couldn't be built this wide, so the length would naturally increase exponentially. Dongfang Chen added, PFFT ha ha ha, Zio Chen, your math is good. But your analysis is based on hearsay and has no factual basis. Okay, there's nothing you're looking for in the underground palace. Listen to me, don't investigate further, Old Qin teased. I can stop investigating, but Old Qin, tell me, what exactly are you hiding? Dongfang Chen asked. Nonsense. What could I be hiding? You don't think I have some connection to the first emperor from thousands of years ago, do you? Old Qin pretended to scold him. In my opinion, you are hiding something. I don't know the reason, but it's very likely related to the secrets of the underground palace. Dongfang Chen stated his speculation. You kid, I've said so many nice things, why won't you listen? Old Qin was speechless. I can tell that you just want to protect this place. As long as you give me a convincing reason, I can stop investigating. Dongfang Chen made an appropriate concession. Alice. To tell you the truth, I am actually a tomb keeper. Old Qin sighed and said, here we go again. Dongfang Chen was speechless. It had to be said that Old Qin's ability to make up stories was truly unmatched. One layer after another, one ring interlocking with another. Each layer had its own secrets, and each ring was unique. He had just said he had no relationship with it, and now he had instantly become a tomb keeper. What, you don't believe me? Old Qin asked rhetorically. Oh, I believe you, I believe you. Please continue. Dongfang Chen couldn't help but laugh, signaling him to continue. Let him speak slowly. Maybe by the time he finished, the queen bee would have completed her investigation. After the first emperor ascended the throne, he began to build his imperial tomb, which took 39 years. In 220 BC, the second year after the pacification of the Six Kingdoms, he began his first inspection tour. Accompanying him on this tour were 99 pairs of virgin boys and girls. Dongfang Chen inexplicably wanted to laugh, but he held it back. These 99 pairs of virgin boys and girls were all selected from the direct descendants of important generals in the Qin army at that time, and were scattered in the Longxi area during the inspection tour. The boys among these 99 pairs of virgin boys and girls were the tomb keepers. Old Qin spoke with great earnestness, and a look of reminiscence appeared in his eyes. Old Qin, let me interrupt. Since they are tomb keepers, shouldn't they be stationed around the mausoleum of the first emperor? Why were they taken to Longxi? Dongfang Chen asked. The so-called tomb keepers are not to guard the tomb, but to guard the secrets of the imperial tomb. Old Qin replied. That's not right either. Since it's to keep the secret, the fewer people who know it, the better. Why do the opposite and send so many people out? Dongfang Chen found another loophole. Because this is a secret that needs to be passed down. Old Qin replied. A secret to be passed down. Dongfang Chen found it difficult to understand. That's right. Buried in the underground palace of the mausoleum of the first emperor, in addition to the bones of a generation of emperors, there is also an important thing, Old Qin replied. What thing? Dongfang Chen asked. A meteorite, the Phantom Stone, Old Qin replied. Is there anything special about this meteorite? Dongfang Chen asked. Anyone who comes into contact with a stone will experience various strange phenomena. At first, they are particularly excited, like they've been injected with stimulants. Then they become incredibly powerful, able to fight 10 men single-handedly. However, soon, bad things happen. Their bodies and faces will gradually be covered with lead, the color going from light to dark, from thin to thick. Later, their eyes gradually turn blood red, and eventually they lose their minds and explode. This is radiation, right? Dongfang Chen guessed. From our current perspective, that's indeed the case. It's just that people at the time were limited by their knowledge and believed that this stone must have come from hell and was very ominous. Old Qin nodded. So this imperial tomb is actually to bury that phantom stone? Dongfang Chen asked. That's right. Old Qin nodded. Then why did the first emperor send 99 pairs of virgin boys and girls out? Dongfang Chen asked. Chapter 499 Underground Palace Image Synthesis. Then what was Qin Shi Huang sending out 99 pairs of young boys and girls for? Naturally, it was to protect this place, to tell those who attempt to excavate the imperial tomb not to do so. Old Qin replied. So, you are a descendant of one of those 99 pairs of young boys and girls. And you have been passing down the secrets of the imperial tomb, guarding the safety of this place? Dongfang Chen asked. That's right. Old Qin nodded. Old Qin, you're going a bit too far. Dongfang Chen pretended to complain. How am I going too far? Old Qin asked, puzzled. Please make your stories a little more logically sound next time. Honestly, your story is only good enough to fool elementary school students. Even a middle school student wouldn't believe it. Dongfang Chen replied. Why? Old Qin was very surprised. It's very simple. The Qin Emperor's tomb is unknown to us, not a public secret. The setting of your story itself is problematic. Since it's so dangerous down there, you could just tell others directly. Why be so secretive? Don't you know that the more you conceal, the more it arouses people's curiosity? Dongfang Chen explained. Commander, scanning complete. Xiaolin reported. Transmit the images to the digital eye. Dongfang Chen said excitedly. The message was sent through the digital eye. So Old Qin didn't hear Dongfang Chen's words. What's wrong? Seeing Dongfang Chen's excited expression, Old Qin suddenly had a feeling that something bad was about to happen. Oh, nothing. Old Qin, please continue. Dongfang Chen said dismissively. I'm finished. Old Qin was baffled. Old Qin, this story is too rudimentary. You should make up another one. Oh, no. I mean, your reason is too false. I still need to investigate it myself. Dongfang Chen said he wanted to give Old Qin something else to do once he finished making up another reason. He would basically have a grasp of the situation in the underground palace. HMPH, you brat. You're not deliberately stalling for time here, are you? Old Qin finally realized what was happening. Of course not, Old Qin. I wouldn't dare if you didn't speak. Dongfang Chen replied perfunctorily at this time. His whole mind was on the three-dimensional projection in front of him from the synthesized projection. It could be seen that the structure of the Qin Emperor's tomb was a standard inverted pyramid. Most of the upper area was passageways, generally extending downwards in a spiral shape. Between the passageways were individual burial chambers. Dongfang Chen didn't care about the miscellaneous burial goods in the upper chambers. What he cared about most was the underground palace at the very bottom. Just as the angle switched to the entrance of the lowest underground palace, a line of words appeared before his eyes. These words were in standard small seal script, and the shape of the characters was already very similar to modern characters, so he knew what was written on them at a glance. It was exactly the 6 words Old Qin had mentioned. Those who enter the imperial tomb without permission shall die. Seeing these words, Dongfang Chen's heart skipped a beat. Old Qin's story might be false, but it was impossible that he just happened to guess these words correctly. He recalled it. Old Qin told him that at the beginning of the excavation, a stone tablet was found in the terracotta army pit, with these words written on it. But later, the stone tablet disappeared. Dongfang Chen originally thought that this intimidating statement was just something Old Qin had made up and didn't take it to heart at all, but now it seemed that the stone tablet was fake, but the content was real. This was very strange. Dongfang Chen switched the view to the upper level. Although the burial chambers had been collapsed and the items were placed in a very messy way, there were still many rare treasures. This meant that no one had ever entered here. That also meant that Old Qin's claim that this place had been looted by invaders was false, and the archaeological experts' rescue excavation here was also false. That also meant that no one should have ever seen these 6 words. Then how did Old Qin know? While he was wondering, Old Qin had become anxious. You don't dare? What don't you dare? Get out of the way, let me through. Hey, Old Qin, don't be anxious. Don't get upset. Dongfang Chen was pulled aside, and Old Qin opened the door and walked out. Dongfang Chen was helpless and quickly sent instructions to turn off all the screens in the warship at the same time. He sent instructions to all the team members, telling them to say that they didn't see anything when Old Qin rushed to the hall. All the team members were standing there dumbfounded, looking confused. It's bad. Dongfang Chen, who was running behind, remembered that the soldiers Old Qin had brought were also in the hall. They had also seen the images of the underground palace. Old Qin, your health is really good. I can't even keep up with you when you walk, Dongfang Chen said awkwardly, trying to lighten the mood. What's going on? Why are all these screens off? Old Qin pointed to the screens around the hall and questioned. These were originally turned off. You don't believe me? Ask them, Dongfang Chen said stubbornly, forcing himself to be calm. Old Qin looked at the Special Forces members. Yes, they were off, the Special Forces members said awkwardly. Chapter 500. Watch now. Locked? Impossible. Tell me. Old Qin pointed at the soldiers he had brought, reporting. Chief, the display just went off, a soldier reported. Xiao Chen, give me an explanation. Old Qin was enraged. Old Qin, I only deployed some microprobes. They won't damage the Imperial Tomb, Dongfang Chen said, no longer hiding now that he was exposed. Didn't I tell you to stop? Old Qin scolded. Old Qin, once the probes are deployed, I can't control them. Dongfang Chen could only make excuses. Don't try to fool me. I order you now to immediately terminate the probing. Old Qin's attitude was firm, leaving no room for discussion. Old Qin, do my words even matter? Old Qin didn't listen at all. Alright. Dongfang Chen helplessly issued the command to Xiaolin to terminate the probing. However, the Queen Bee didn't retreat from below. Old Qin, it stopped. Dongfang Chen replied, come with me. Old Qin walked back into the room. Dongfang Chen followed helplessly. Tell me honestly, what stage has the exploration reached? Old Qin asked. The entire structure of the Imperial Tomb has been mapped out. Dongfang Chen answered truthfully. Mapped out? Tell me, what did you find? Old Qin asked. As you said, the entire underground palace is an inverted pyramid. The very bottom should be the location of the underground palace, with spiraling tunnels and some burial chambers above. Dongfang Chen roughly described it. Old Qin took a deep breath, appearing much more relaxed. I told you, there's nothing you're looking for in the Imperial Tomb. Do you believe me now? Old Qin asked. I believe you, Dongfang Chen said perfunctorily. He hadn't had time to check the underground palace yet, so how could he believe it? Can the screens here be viewed? Old Qin asked, pointing at the screens in the room. Yes, Dongfang Chen nodded. Project it, Old Qin instructed. Dongfang Chen was stunned. Old Qin wanted to see too. What? Project it? Be careful with secrecy. Old Qin glared at him. Oh, Dongfang Chen nodded and did as he was told. Soon, the screen lit up according to Old Qin's request. Only this screen was lit. The hall remained dark on the screen, against a black background. An inverted pyramid-shaped three-dimensional structure outlined by lines emerged. Where do you want to look? Look now, Old Qin said. Old Qin. Dongfang Chen didn't understand what Old Qin was trying to do. Stop talking nonsense. Look. Old Qin's expression was very serious. Alright. Dongfang Chen didn't stand on ceremony either. The camera zoomed into the bottom level, the end of the tunnel, the entrance to the underground palace. Old Qin, look at these 6 characters. Dongfang Chen zoomed in on the words trespassers of the Imperial Tomb shall die engraved on the stone door. What about them? Old Qin asked, looking at the screen without turning his head. Old Qin, how did you know about these words? Dongfang Chen asked. I made them up, Old Qin replied. Alright. Dongfang Chen stopped pursuing the matter. The camera pushed forward, passing through the stone door and entering the interior. Inside was a square, sealed space about 4 meters high and 10 meters long and wide. On either side of the doorway inside the stone door knelt a terracotta figure. Judging from the style, they should be maids. In the middle of the burial chamber was a square platform, and on top of the platform was a bronze coffin. Besides that, there was nothing else. Dongfang Chen found it hard to believe. Judging from the style of the bronze coffin, It should undoubtedly be the coffin of Emperor Qin Shi Huang, but this differed greatly from historical records. There were no rivers, lakes, seas, sun, moon, or stars. Even the material of the coffin was wrong according to historians. Qin Shi Huang's coffin should have been made of cypress wood. Isn't it very different from the legends? Old Qin asked, looking at him. It is. Dongfang Chen nodded. That's why I said there's a huge difference between history and reality. Old Qin said, it feels like you knew this result a long time ago? Dongfang Chen said tentatively, of course. You're not the first to explore it. Old Qin glanced at him. Old Qin is right. There's nothing here anyway, so why did you insist on stopping me from exploring? Dongfang Chen asked. I was worried you would cause damage here. Old Qin said, alright. Dongfang Chen nodded speechlessly. Do you want to take a look inside the bronze coffin? Old Qin reminded him. Look? Of course, I want to look. Although Dongfang Chen found Old Qin's words strange, he couldn't immediately figure out what was wrong. However, the secret of burying soldiers in the earth had not yet been found, so he certainly couldn't give up now. Since Old Qin was letting him look, he might as well take a look. The camera pushed forward, zoomed in, and directly penetrated the coffin. Entering the interior, inside was a skeleton wrapped in clothing. Besides that, there was nothing else. Old Qin, the jade slip you mentioned isn't here? Dongfang Chen asked. End of this chapter. Thank you so much for reading until the end. Don't forget to give it a like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription or donation encourages us to continue. Thank you all. See you in the next video.